Chapter 913. Summon the Rain. The old man's expression turned gloomy and shouted, "What killer Shu Fei? Shu Mu, do you think I am a 3-year-old child? Don't make up a name, much less the slaughtered domain." Wang Lin's expression was calm and he didn't even look at the old man. Instead, his gaze fell on Master Flamespark. As Master Flamespark stared at Wang Lin, the coldness in his face eased, and he said, "The Cultivation Alliance does have a slaughtered domain, and there is indeed the Soul Killer duo. However, do you have proof that you killed him?" The moment Master Flamespark spoke, the old man beside him immediately stopped talking. Wang Lin was expressionless as he slapped his bag of holding and the half-tree branch appeared in his hand. There was still thunder moving around the tree branch. Wang Lin directly threw it at Master Flamespark. As the thunder roared, the half-branch flew toward Master Flamespark and was grabbed by him. He took a closer look and immediately recognized it as one of the slaughtered domain's precious treasures. With his cultivation, he could feel the two forces within the branch. One was obviously Wang Lin's, and the other was a powerful, evil aura. Not bad. This is indeed the sword energy of a vice deputy level cultivator of the slaughter domain. Master Flamespark's gaze toward Wang Lin was filled with admiration. After taking a look at the branch in his hand, he threw it back to Wang Lin and smiled. "Good, Shu Mu. You can rest easy cultivating here. 1 month from now, the backup will arrive, and you will follow the army to invade the northern region." Wang Lin's expression was respectful as he clasped his hands in acknowledgement. Master Flamespark laughed and meaningfully looked at the big-headed boy before leaving. The old man beside him quickly followed. The two of them disappeared into the distance. Wang Lin's expression was neutral, but he relaxed. When he came to the western region into the Alheaven sphere of influence, he already had a plan in mind. This plan was the reason why he risked taking out the branch of the World Thunder Tree before the final battle. He had used it in order to gain trust. Among the stars, the gratified expression on Master Flamespark's face disappeared, and he revealed no expression, making it impossible to know what he was thinking. The old man beside him had a thought and immediately said, "Temple Lord, from my view, this Shu Mu was obviously lying. Moreover, that big-headed boy is one of the Heaven Celestials, but he is being controlled by Shu Mu, in my opinion." Master Flamespark turned around and coldly looked at the old man. Seeing this gaze, the old man's body trembled, and he immediately swallowed back the latter half of that sentence. After withdrawing his gaze, Master Flamespark walked toward the void. This Shu Mu is not simple. There are 4 powers mixed between his eyebrows. Even with my cultivation, I could only see through one of them, and it was obviously the weakest one. Master Flamespark pondered as he moved among the stars. The power he could see through dispelled the original thought in Master Flamespark's mind, and he let out a sigh. He was familiar with the power. To be exact, it was the vermilion bird mark. Only after reaching his cultivation level would one be able to see that mark between Wang Lin's eyebrows. This Shu Mu wasn't this strange before turning to the Alliance star system, but after disappearing for a few days, those strange things appeared. Vermilion bird mark, that man once helped me. Forget it. Master Flamespark shook his head as he disappeared with the old man. The news of Shu Mu returning quickly spread in a short period of time. After all, Shu Mu was too famous in the Alheaven star system, so almost every Alheaven cultivator knew that Shu Mu had returned. The one that was most frustrated was Shu Ting. After he got the message, he pondered for a moment before charging out with a team of cultivators. He wanted to find a cultivation planet to vent his anger. As for Wang Lin, it seemed to be the rainy season in the abandoned planet he was on. Endless rain covered a small portion of the planet and caused the area to be surrounded by water mist. The water was so dense that the view of the area was twisted, and not even the light from the sky could penetrate it. The dust had all been washed away by the rain, and the flowing water formed trenches on the ground. Some dust and dirt were washed away by the pouring rain. The sound of raindrops hitting the branches and leaves echoed. The rain flowed down the edges of the leaves and condensed at the bottom. There were many fierce beasts looking for place to avoid this rain disaster. Only the few water beasts could continue to move through the rain. The mountain Wang Lin was in stood straight under the rain. The big-headed boy stared at the rain and silently pondered. The restrictions on the mountain didn't deliberately stop the rain from falling. As a result, the mountain was surrounded by rain as well. The big-headed boy remembered his childhood while he watched the rain. Back then, He always looked at the rain in a daze. He still remembered when he was expelled by the family. It was a rainy night. He was in a daze when he was pushed out from the family home and into the mud. Back then he still had that foolish smile, only it was somewhat sad. He fell into the muddy water, and his clothes were soaked by the rain. Looking at the rain and flashing thunder, the big-headed boy's heart felt painful. He knew he was ugly, and in order to not make others feel disgusted, he would always put on a smile. Even when his mother hit him, he would always still squeeze out a smile. Even when all his siblings bullied him, he was still smiling. Even so, the ending was still the same. On that rainy night, his smile gradually disappeared, and he walked away in the rain in a daze. His body was very small. It seemed as if he could fall over any time under this rumbling thunder. The big-headed boy touched his chest and looked at Tashan and Lei Ji before looking at Wang Lin. For some unknown reason, he felt a hint of warmth in his heart. In his mind, he could never forget what happened a few days ago, when he was about to self-destruct in despair, and a pair of hands pulled him away from that life-and-death crisis. A figure occupied his vision back then. Lei Ji also looked at the rain and comprehended his bloodline ability. In this relatively quiet environment, he couldn't help but recall his past. He was forced to leave planet Giant Demon and was filled with hatred. Accompanied by his people, they escaped planet Giant Demon and wandered the stars. The him back then was in a daze. His heart thirsted for blood, but he was powerless. He could only leave his home. If he had been a step late, he might never had a change to leave planet Giant Demon. During his confusion, he brought his clan members to planet Suzaku. During that time, the Suzaku was named Yi Wu. Under Yi Wu Yu's guidance, many cultivators gathered and began a war with the native inhabitants of the planet. They were the Forsaken Immortal clan that was proficient in using runes. A planet that was originally filled with spiritual energy became half-wasted by this war. There was a person next to Yi Wu Yu that Lei Ji disliked a lot. He seemed to remember this man was called Situnan. This person was very arrogant and his actions were almost demonic. He much preferred Yi Wu. They treated the arrival of the giant demon clan with great hospitality. Yi Wu Yu even set off a large piece of land for them to form their own country. This piece of land was not close to the Forsaken Immortal clan. It was far away from the Forsaken Immortal clan, so it was very safe. He couldn't find any way to repay this kindness beside picking up his battle axe and slaughtering the Forsaken Immortal clan himself. He obtained the heads of the Forsaken Immortal clan to repay Yi Wu Yu. Looking at his past life, Lei Ji felt regrettable. He wasn't as dumb as he looked on the surface. In fact, he was extremely cunning. He had experienced too much in his tens of thousands of years of living. It was just that he had been imprisoned by the corpse sect for too long, and his mind was muddled. It was because he was very cunning that Lei Ji agreed to become Wang Lin's mount without hesitation. After observing Wang Lin, he felt that if he followed Wang Lin, he might be able to return to planet Giant Demon to get his revenge. In particular, during the battle earlier, when Wang Lin let out that roar, had shaken his mind. At that moment, all of his schemes fell apart, and a will left by his ancestors from the depths of his soul made him succumb to the roar. It was also at that moment that the idea of following Wang Lin became firm in his mind. I won't get any attention by being a mere mount. Everything will rely on my Giant Demon Clan's bloodline ability. While thinking about this, Lei Ji closed his eyes and continued to comprehend his bloodline ability. As Wang Lin sat there, rain poured from the sky and fell on his body. Cold energy slowly entered Wang Lin's body from the rain. He slowly cultivated, and his divine sense spread. The mountain was the center, and his divine sense covered the surrounding area. At this moment, his divine sense split into countless pieces and tried to merge with the rain. However, the moment he merged with the raindrops would dissipate into the earth. At that moment, his divine sense could be released. This repeated again and again. It was as if the rain had no resistance toward Wang Lin's divine sense. But it was also because of this that the origin energy of the world inside the rain would dissipate the moment it hit the ground. This was something Wang Lin couldn't stop. As Wang Lin continued to merge with the rain and gradually became immersed in it, he suddenly seemed to hear a comprehension he came to a long time ago. This rain was born from the sky and dies with the earth. This process is life. The reason I look at the rain and not the sky or earth was because I am looking at the rain's life. This is life and death. Wang Lin's body suddenly trembled. He suddenly opened his eyes as he stared at the rain and muttered, I have already gained enlightenment in life and death. All that is left is the source of rain. Brothers, have you not yet hit the like button for the video? Wish that the like button for the video would be hit. Chapter 914. Plan to slaughter Al-Heaven. Wang Lin pondered as he looked at the rain before him, and the inheritance Qing Shui gave him echoed in his mind. His eyes grew brighter and brighter until they were like beacons in this rainy night. I don't care if this rain is dead or alive. I only need to remember that this rain comes from the sky. Wang Lin raised his head and looked at the clouds in the sky. The rain that enveloped the earth came from those clouds. The sky only has clouds. Rain come from the clouds. As Wang Lin pondered, his divine sense spread out but no longer merged with the rain. Instead, his divine sense charged into the sky and entered the clouds. There, he detected a large amount of origin energy of the world. This origin energy of the world was T-stable and constantly collided with itself. Every time it collided, a large amount of raindrops would fall to the earth. Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly, his body flickered, and he flew off the mountain. He stepped on the rain as if he was ascending a ladder and directly entered the clouds. The moment he entered the clouds, bursts of thunder moved within the rain, and endless rumbles echoed. However, this thunder couldn't obstruct Wang Lin at all. After entering the clouds, Wang Lin's divine sense spread out even more in the clouds. The constant comprehension caused him to smile. A moment later, he walked out from the clouds and then arrived on the other side of the planet. Here, a large amount of water vapor was rising into the air. This water vapor was invisible, and Wang Lin could barely detect it with his divine sense. The water vapor formed thin clouds that rose into the air, but these clouds were difficult to see with the naked eye. I understand. Wang Lin let out a laugh as he opened his arms and pointed at the ground. Origin energy came out from his body, and the water vapor in the world became more dense. As if the vapor was being manipulated, it quickly condensed. Space distorted near Wang Lin's hands, and, a moment later, dark clouds appeared. The moment the dark clouds appeared, they quickly condensed. In the end, a group of dark clouds suddenly formed in Wang Lin's hands. As his divine sense swept through the clouds, thunder appeared inside the clouds. His divine sense shook the clouds, causing rumbles to echo and large amounts of rain to fall. Nirvana Scryer stage cultivators needed to pay attention to laws. That's what really made second-step cultivators powerful. However, laws were ethereal and very difficult to grasp. This was also why there weren't many second-step cultivators. There were even cultivators who had grasped some laws, and this allowed their cultivation level to increase. However, in the end, this still couldn't progress, and their spells weren't powerful. The main reason was that the way they grasped the laws was passive rather than active. Wang Lin vaguely touched the edge of law. He revealed a smile as he waved his hand. The clouds gradually became transparent and eventually disappeared. As he laughed, he returned back to the top of the mountain with one step. He stood there and looked up at the clouds in the sky. At this moment, the rain was still falling, but it turned into water vapor when it arrived 3 inches from Wang Lin. Soon, a layer of clouds appeared around Wang Lin. This scene was exactly the same as when Master Flamespark arrived. However, the clouds around Wang Lin were thin. Master Flamespark's clouds looked like they could cause the world to collapse if he just gave the order. However, if Master Flamespark's divine sense descended on the planet and saw this, he would be shocked. This was because this cloud wasn't caused by an origin energy spell, it was a sign of laws. This was caused by the power of law. It was not a deliberate action. It involved subtly changing the space around oneself so that the raindrops would turn into clouds. This cloud itself was a spell with infinite power. Celestial Emperor Baifan was really a godlike person. Wang Lin let out a sigh. He had inherited Summon the Rain from Qing Shui. This celestial spell came from Celestial Emperor Baifan. Just by comprehending this spell, he had managed to touch laws. This was not something an ordinary celestial spell could do. There were very few celestial spells that could have this effect. The rain came from the clouds, and this cloud also came from water. However, without wind, the cloud can't form. This inheritance came from Qing Shui, and although it brought Wang Lin no comprehension, it gave him knowledge of the laws. Thus, Wang Lin was even more grateful toward Xianxia. I didn't think Situ had controlled law back then. The scene of Situ Nan emerging from the heaven-defying bead appeared in Wang Lin's mind. It was raining when Situ shouted, "Scram for me." At that instant, the rain turned back into clouds and quickly disappeared. All of the clouds in the sky collapsed, revealing a clear sky. At that moment, all those years ago, he only felt an unspeakable impact coming from Situ Nan's body, and it made the sky tremble. It was as if all living things had to step back and yield to him. It was merely a vague feeling, though. After all, Wang Lin's cultivation level was too low back then, so he didn't have the qualifications. But thinking about it now, Situ Nan had clearly grasped law. Wang Lin thought about it, and was able to clearly see through everything in his memories. It turns out everything was like this. Wang Lin pondered as he thought about when he first obtained the heaven-defying bead 1,000 years ago. There was a cloud on the heaven-defying bead. This cloud must absorb the water vapor in the world to make the amount of clouds increase. Thinking about it now, Wang Lin immediately understood and bitterly smiled. In truth, something had always existed around him, but unless he reached a certain level, he wouldn't notice it. Even if he had seen it, he wouldn't have been enlightened. At this moment, Wang Lin thoroughly understood. I finally understand the water law portion of the heaven-defying bead. After 1,000 years, this portion was the first stage the heaven-defying bead revealed. Even now, I haven't fully mastered it, and have merely grasped it. Wang Lin touched the spot between his eyebrows and felt regrettable. He looked at the rain falling from the sky and lightly waved his hand as he muttered, "Scatter!" This wave caused the clouds to fly out along with this hand. All the rain in the world suddenly trembled, and a large amount of clouds appeared. It was as if there was a powerful wind that pushed all the clouds back. Under the impact of this wind, all the clouds in the sky began to collapse. Following a thunderous roar, it was as if a giant hand had swept across the sky, and all the clouds dissipated completely. A clear sky appeared over the planet. The sun fell, bringing warmth. The earth gave off the fragrance of dirt. There were still large drops of water falling from the plants after the rain. A rainbow appeared over the horizon. This was like a scene from the celestial realm. In this atmosphere, even the fierce beasts that appeared didn't roar. Instead, they lowly growled at the sky. Several birds flew out from with cheerful chirps over the horizon. It was obvious that the long rainy season made them unable to fly for a long time. Wang Lin's eyes were calm. His right hand formed a seal, and black wind suddenly appeared 10 feet in front of Wang Lin. The black wind turned into 2 black dragons that blasted out cold air. The cold air fused with the mist to form clouds, and then water droplets condensed. The origin energy of the world nearby surged toward the clouds. With just a command from Wang Lin, the rain would scatter over the world and summon the rain would appear. He waved his right hand and the clouds disappeared. The black dragons disappeared too, and everything returned to normal. When the big-headed boy looked at this, his pupils shrank. He was silently pondering, and his respect for Wang Lin increased. Lei Ji awakened from his comprehension and his eyes flashed. A wave was set off in his heart, and he thought, the power of law. I have only seen it in the spells of very powerful cultivators. While he pondered, he became even more set on following Wang Lin. As for Tashan, it was as if he was blind to all of this. He continued to cultivate with his eyes closed. Wang Lin sat down on the ground. His eyes were calm. He had comprehended Summon the Rain, so up next was the spell he was most interested in, Magic Arsenal! At this moment, an illusory figure quickly moved between the intersection of the western and northern regions of the Alliance star system. This figure was so fast that it would often disappear in a flash. There wasn't just one figure, but numerous figures moving across the stars. There were many ripples that continued to spread around them, and this caused these figures to move even faster. After the figures entered the western region, it wasn't long until they encountered a team of Alheaven cultivators. The person leading the team was the six-fingered cultivator. He had brought the team and was headed north. The western region was under Alheaven control, and as a celestial, he naturally had to go to the north and open a path. Along the way there, he was extremely cautious. He had his divine sense spread out, so if there were any signs of trouble, he would immediately notice. The moment the figures saw the six-fingered cultivator and the 100 cultivators behind him, the figures all turned and headed toward them. The six-fingered cultivator was moving when he suddenly felt a sense of danger. He felt bursts of pain coming from his sixth finger and became terrified. causing him to immediately stop. However, at this moment, he saw the countless figures coming toward them. This glance caused his pupils to shrink. He slapped his bag of holding, took out a message rune, and crushed it. Rather than retreating, he charged out, but at this moment, half the illusionary figures surrounded the six-fingered cultivator. The rest charged at the cultivators behind him. Waves of miserable shouts echoed and waves of spells appeared. A moment later, the six-fingered cultivator retreated in panic, but just as he rushed out, a large amount of the black shadows entered his body. His body trembled every time an illusionary figure rushed into his body. After he charged out dozens of feet, he stopped. His eyes revealed a strange gaze, but a few moments later they returned to normal. Looking down at his body, the six-fingered cultivator revealed a strange smile and muttered, "This body is acceptable." Behind him, the all-heaven cultivators walked out one by one. All of them had strange smiles. The mysterious Temple's plan to annihilate all heaven will begin soon. After this huge change occurs, our task will not only be Shu-mu. The remnant of the all-heaven cultivators must be eradicated. Out of the four saints, the Black Fiend Devil Saint and Heavenly Tao Origin Saint came. This time the all-heaven cultivators will find out that the gate to our Alliance star system is not so easy to enter. Thank you all for the support, especially for the large golden gifts from Leo. Leo is so touched he could cry. By the end of this month, Leo's video is facing a challenge in the popular rankings. Hoping to get more likes for the video. Chapter 915-18 Layers of Hell. With Xianxia's inheritance, Wang Lin understood that among Celestial Emperor Bai Fan's spells, Call the Wind, Summon the Rain, and Magic Arsenal was the strongest. Even Xianxia favored Magic Arsenal a lot. It was one of the spells that made him famous in the celestial realm. Wang Lin had high expectations for this spell as well. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes. After clearly comprehending the inheritance of Magic Arsenal he got from Xianxia, he suddenly opened his eyes, and the celestial origin energy core in his body began to rotate. As it rotated, a large amount of celestial origin energy cycled through his body. His origin energy began to slowly hide itself until only that dense celestial origin energy was moving through his body. The current Wang Lin gave off a large amount of celestial origin energy. He had the aura of a celestial, and it was as if he was an actual celestial. The big-headed boy carefully observed this and sighed. He had always wondered why this Shu-mu had celestial origin energy, when he clearly remembered that Shu-mu had never gone into the celestial pool. However, he didn't dare to ask about this doubt. Looking at Wang Lin filled with celestial origin energy, he bitterly smiled. He had to give up his domain for this celestial origin, but Shu-mu had both domain and celestial origin energy. As Wang Lin's celestial origin energy cycled, he began forming the hand seals he obtained from Xianxia's inheritance that were unique to Magic Arsenal. Magic Arsenal required you to open the reincarnation cycle and extract the soul fragments of the ones you killed. Then you must form your own mysterious space to fuse these soul fragments in. Only then can Magic Arsenal form. The power of this spell varies from person to person. For example, when Bai Fan used Magic Arsenal, it would cover the sky, and very few people could block it. Then there was Xianxia, whose Magic Arsenal was filled with slaughter that would make people yield before fighting. As his hand formed seals, the celestial origin energy in his body suddenly rushed into the seals through his arms. It was as the world was changing colors, while strands of celestial origin energy intersected before him and began to slowly rotate. At the start, the rotation wasn't too fast, but as the celestial origin core inside Wang Lin rotated faster, the vortex eventually looked like a tornado. As the vortex roared, it began to expand. In the blink of an eye, a vortex dozens of feet tall appeared before Wang Lin. It rotated so fast that it looked like it wasn't rotating at all. However, in reality, the rotation of the vortex had reached its peak. If it was before Wang Lin obtained the celestial origin energy from the layer of the immortal graveyard, his celestial core would be ran out and collapsed before the vortex could even form. Even after absorbing all that celestial origin energy and his celestial core had become the size of a baby's first, Wang Lin could feel his celestial origin energy rapidly depleting. He knew he couldn't maintain the vortex for more than 3 days. Wang Lin knew that this vortex was a self-created reincarnation cycle formed by the celestial origin energy. In reality, it was a spell that focused on your memories. to be immersed in your own memories and pull out the soul fragments of all the people you killed. Although they were only memories, they were extremely real when this spell was used. The soul fragments that were extracted even retained some of their cultivation. As a result, they could be used in magic arsenal. The longer he drew this out, the more celestial origin energy he would lose. If he wasn't successful after 3 days, then this celestial origin energy would run out and the vortex would collapse. The instant the vortex opened, Wang Lin's ancient thunder dragon origin soul flew out from between his eyebrows and went into the vortex. The vortex continued to shrink until it was imprinted between Wang Lin's eyebrows. The surroundings were completely silent. Wang Lin's ancient thunder dragon origin soul moved through a tunnel of time. He gradually changed until he was in human form. In an instant, the tunnel ended, and when he charged out, the sun blinded his eyes. Wang Lin looked down and saw the Heng Yue sect on planet Suzaku. He saw 2 youths. One was covered in sweat, using the attraction spell. On the side, the person being controlled by the attraction spell was a young man holding a dagger. The dagger was pointed at another youth. The youth raised the axe and mercilessly slashed down on the young man's head. A miserable scream echoed. Wang Lin clearly saw a soul fragment fly out and enter Wang Lin's origin soul. This person wasn't killed by me. Why, as Wang Lin pondered, he felt a powerful force pulling his origin soul. In the blink of an eye, his vision blurred, and he was now on a road. Before him was a black-robed teen fighting against a middle-aged man. Shortly after, the middle-aged man died. Beside the middle-aged man was a gloomy youth who said, "He is the disciple of old man Jimo. We must quickly leave." The soul fragment of the middle-aged man that died flew out and entered Wang Lin's origin soul. The scene changed once more. This time it was a cave in the forest. He devoured Teng Li's foundation. Then Teng Li's soul fragment flew out and entered Wang Lin. Scene by scene passed by from the country of Zhao to the corpse sect. Then to Juming Valley, the foreign battlefield, Hofen. And then the Sea of Devils with the Dragon Tendon and the 100-day 10,000 devil kill order. Then he returned to Zhao, where he slaughtered the Teng family. The battle with Shui Yue, the Rain Celestial Realm, and followed by him killing the ancestor of the country of Shui Yu and the giant demon clan ancestor. After that was the battle between the Forsaken Immortal clan and the country of Suzaki, and what happened in the Suzaku tomb. Everything replayed as if Wang Lin was reliving his life. The Tianyun sect, the Demon Spirit Land, the Celestial Slaughter Art, the All-Heaven Star System, the Huan family ancestor, the Thunder Celestial Realm, killing Blood Ancestor, the inside of the Nether Beast, killing the Celestial, slaughtering the Yao family members in the Western Domain, and everything until the Celestial title competition where he obtained rank 1 in 1 line to heaven. In the end, his memories stopped. Wang Lin was startled. He felt as if a powerful force grabbed him and kept dragging him up. Then he suddenly opened his eyes. He was soaked in sweat, and the mountain was still before him. The moment he awakened, the vortex between his eyebrows stopped rotating and turned back into strands of celestial origin energy that returned into his body. The celestial origin, the size of a baby's first, had shrunken by nearly 60%. His life of slaughter had flashed by. When Wang Lin went through his life again, he felt regret. Even now, he was unclear if he had awakened from his dream. What a powerful celestial spell. Wang Lin let out a big breath. Celestial Emperor Bai Fan's celestial spell was formed from the fusion of many spells. The essence of these spells were extracted to form a new celestial spell. However, in order to learn the spell, Wang Lin had to experience the process. Wang Lin pondered for a while. He had already made a decision for the second part of Magic Arsenal. After recalling it to make sure there was no problem, the Underworld River appeared above Wang Lin. The Underworld River spread out and the resentful aura filled the world. However, under Wang Lin's control, the two ends connected to form a circle. At that instant, an aura that surged into the sky appeared. Wang Lin looked at the Underworld River and spat out an object. It was the celestial sealing stamp. The moment it appeared, it floated into the air. It fused with the Underworld River. The hundreds of thousands of golden runes appeared and fused with the Underworld River. The Underworld River began to churn as if it was boiling, and a shocking change occurred as the golden runes fused with it. The entire underworld river swept across the world while carrying hundreds of thousands of seals and finally fused with the celestial sealing stamp completely. A powerful pressure suddenly surrounded the abandoned planet Wang Lin was on. This pressure came from the celestial sealing stamp. The appearance of the celestial sealing stamp had changed. It was no longer golden but pitch black. However, an extremely powerful aura was spreading out from this darkness. It was as if there were countless resentful spirits roaring and struggling inside to escape. What was even more shocking was that several rings had appeared on the celestial sealing stamp and separated it into 18 layers. Each layer gave off a dense resentful aura and flashes of gloomy sealing light. The deeper the layer, the stronger the resentful aura. This was his personal realm that he had created for magic arsenal. Bai Han had the mysterious realm and Xianxia had his slaughter realm. Wang Lin had his 18 layers of hell reincarnation realm, with the celestial sealing stamp as the earth, with the golden seals as the seal, with the underworld river as the reincarnation cycle, and filling it with resentful aura to complete the 18 layers of hell. The deeper down the 18 layers, the stronger the souls inside were. There were no soul fragments from the 15th to 18th layers, but there was one in the 14th layer. This soul fragment was covered in a blood mist and a monstrous resentment. He was the blood ancestor, who was killed by Wang Lin. More than 100 soul fragments of celestials killed by Wang Lin in the immortal graveyard were sealed in the TH layer. They were letting out maddening roars wanting to escape, but they were completely sealed. There were also the soul fragments of the Yao family cultivators that Wang Lin had killed, along with the soul fragments of all the corporeal yang and above cultivators killed by Wang Lin. Magic Arsenal was a very tyrannical spell. It extracted the soul fragments of everything you killed from the reincarnation cycle and used them. Wang Lin stood up and stared at the 18 layers of hell in the sky. A vortex appeared between his eyebrows, and then his origin soul charged out and spat out essence origin energy. Endless black gas came out from the essence origin energy. This black gas was all the people killed by Wang Lin. As they touched the 18 layers of hell, they were all sealed inside. At the same time, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding, and the 1 billion soul flag flew out. He shook the flag, causing it to open, and the soul fragments charged out like crazy. As time goes on, a heavy dizziness is setting in. My mind can't cope. Tomorrow I will continue to burst forth with all my might. In 12 hours that will be doubling the likes for the video, hoping that everyone is ready with 2 likes for Leo. Thank you. Chapter 916, Alliance S Style. There were a lot of soul fragments inside the 1 billion soul flag, and they all rushed into the 18 layers of hell. The resentment in the 18 layers of hell continued to increase as the soul fragments rushed inside. Their maddening screams would cause any mortal who heard them to pass out. Even a cultivator's mind would be shaken before these screams. They were a result of the grievance of the souls of the countless people that Wang Lin had killed. In there were Blood Ancestor, the Celestials, the Yao family members, and many other powerful cultivators. Because they were only soul fragments, they weren't as strong as before, but their power was not something ordinary cultivators could resist. There were also the countless soul fragments inside the 1 billion soul flag. With them, the 18 layers of hell were now worthy of their title. Inside the 1 billion soul flag, only the primary souls remained, and Wang Lin put it away. If it wasn't for the fact that this flag was a gift from Dutian, he would put the flag itself inside the celestial sealing stamp. As Wang Lin stood there, a trace of coldness flashed across his eyes, and he shouted, "This is my 18 layers of hell reincarnation cycle." As his voice came out, the cries from the 18 layers of hell became even stronger. The screams quickly enveloped the entire planet. The first ones that weren't able to withstand it were the fierce beasts, and they quickly scattered. If it wasn't for Wang Lin controlling the screams, all of these fierce beasts would be immediately collapsed. The several cultivators that were stationed here became pale and their minds were shaken, so they quickly flew out from their rooms. They didn't want to stay for a moment longer. The big-headed boy gasped as he stared dumbfoundedly at the 18 hell celestial sealing stamp. Due to his cultivation level, he was able to immediately see that this treasure wasn't ordinary. Lei Ji's pupils shrank. Facing the 18 layers of hell, he felt fear from the bottom of his heart. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and 2 balls of light appeared in his hand. These were 2 origin souls. One of them was the origin soul of the Corp Sec's Resentment Hall Vice Hall Master, and the other was what the Vice Hall Master gave Wang Lin to trade for his life. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin didn't put them into 18 layers of hell and put them back in his bag. These two early-stage Nirvana Scryer origin souls were very important for recovering cultivation. He kept them in case he needed to use them in the future. At this moment, he stood up, stared at the sky, formed a seal with his hand, and pointed at the celestial sealing stamp. It shrank and was swallowed by Wang Lin. "Let's go." Wang Lin was calm as he took a step and left the planet. Lei Ji and company quickly followed after him. At this moment, all of the western region was taken over by the Alheaven cultivators. As large amounts of Alheaven cultivators passed through the tunnel between the two systems, they took over the planets one by one. It was obvious that they already considered this place part of Alheaven. As all of the western region was taken over, the shadow looming over all the powerful cultivators of Alheaven became even stronger. There was not a single rank 7 cultivation planet in the western region, only rank 6 cultivation planets. All of this was very strange. However, there were no changes for a very time, and while there were still doubts in their hearts, they started a second round of attacks under the order of the Thunder Celestial Temple. Their target this time was northern region. Groups of Alheaven cultivators quickly flew toward the northern region on rays of sword energy. As they passed, they created sound as if space itself was going to collapse. The sword energy emitted by tens of thousands of cultivators made the world change colors. The flying swords revealed the height of heaven and almost made the world collapse. Unknowingly, they gave off the feeling of being able to reverse time and split the heavens. The Alheaven cultivators were filled with killing intent as they left the cultivation planets and continued to move forward. Master Flamespark had a ball of flame under his feet and a group of cultivators around him. His expression was gloomy. During this period of time they had slaughtered into the Alliance star system, he felt a sense of crisis. When they tried to predict what was going to happen, he could only see dense bloodlight that prevented him from clearly seeing anything. They were forced to continue their attack on the northern region because they had been in the western region for too long. They couldn't just retreat without fighting, so even though he knew the Alliance had some sort of scheme, he was forced to push forward. Even if there is a scheme, this old man is not afraid. Moreover, the Alliance aren't the only ones with a hidden hand. I have also carefully planned out countermeasures to many of the possible schemes the Alliance could come up with. There was a flash of coldness in Master Flamespark's eyes, and they were filled with killing intent. Large amounts of Alheaven cultivators rode on rays of sword energy as they flew through the western region and arrived in the northern region. As the large amount of Alheaven cultivators charged into the northern region, an ancient aura burst forth from one of the planets in the western region that was taken over by the Alheaven cultivators. This aura exploded like crazy, and in an instant, a destructive impact came from this cultivation planet. There were hundreds of cultivators living on this planet, and they all panicked to escape. As they escaped, what they saw became the last thing they saw. The entire cultivation planet shook extremely violently. It was as if the planet had finished its life cycle in an instant, and it was filled with death aura. What was even more incredible was that this cultivation planet was shrinking. The planet shrank like crazy as if there was a powerful force compressing it. The crazy compression made it so the planet was only 10% of its original size. At this instant, a destructive aura came out like crazy and this planet suddenly collapsed. This collapse created a powerful and destructive wave that spread out like crazy. Those hundreds of cultivators didn't have time to dodge as their bodies were instantly destroyed by this destructive wave. Even their origin souls were destroyed under this destructive force. The resulting rumble was earth-shattering. The collapse of the planet was filled with the scent of blood, and all life on it had been extinguished. This was not something an ordinary cultivator could do. Only the most ruthless and inhuman cultivator would destroy a planet like this. Loud explodes echoed. As the destructive wave spread, a large amount of spatial rifts appeared in the space they passed by. There were so many cracks that it only took a moment for them to all connect together. All of the Alheaven cultivators within tens of thousands of kilometers that were affected by the shockwave immediately had their bodies and origin souls destroyed. At this instant, this wasn't the only planet that exploded. This happened to all of them. All of the cultivation planets in the western region collapsed like crazy and formed a crazy shockwave that filled the western region. This kind of big movement was something only the Cultivation Alliance would do. Since all you Alheaven cultivators came, then I'll let you all die in the western region. Ignoring the lives of all living things in the western region, they began a shocking plan to slaughter the Alheaven cultivators. The crazy collapse became even more intense in the western region. As the planets collapsed, the storm formed by the collapse swept across the region. Large amounts of spatial cracks appeared due to this storm, and in the end, they all linked together. The thunderous rumble echoed, and the entire western region was like the end of the world. The large-scale collapse caused a lot of spatial cracks. Large amounts of rocks containing destructive power shot out randomly. It was a slaughter. Most of the Alheaven cultivators weren't even able to retaliate and were killed by his storm. As spatial crack increased in size, more and more cold wind came out and fused with the storm to form a giant vortex. This vortex was so large that it covered most of the western region. It cut off the Alheaven cultivators that had charged into the northern region from the tunnel back to the Alheaven star system. When the storm was about to dissipate, countless figures appeared, and transfer arrays appeared one by one. Cultivators of the Cultivation Alliance stepped out of the arrays. Kill! Earth-shattering roars echoed across the stars. Master Flamespark's eyes were red. He had thought of everything, but he didn't think the Alliance would destroy the western region and create this kind of impact. At the same time, rays of sword energy flew through the northern domain when the Alliance cultivators arrived. They charged at the panicking Alheaven cultivators that were trying to escape. In the northern domain, a ripple appeared in the army of the Alliance. A black-robed old man walked out, and his laughter echoed across the world as he stepped out. Master Flamespark, long time no see. Do you still remember Old Man Black Fiend Devil Sovereign? Master Flamespark's eyes became bright red, and his expression didn't reveal any reaction to the change. He calmly said, "So this was your plan?"
Very good. Let me show you my Alheaven cultivator spells.
Master Flamespark raised his hand and pointed up. A large crack was silently ripped open. This crack was extremely large and was like a river that covered the sky. At the same time, a powerful pressure came out from it, and 18 balls of blood more than 100 feet wide descended. Your Alliance star system dared to destroy the western region, so how could my Alheaven star system not react? Since you killed some people on my side, I'll kill some people on your side. Master Flamespark's voice was filled with confidence. The second watch has come. So thankful for the praise from the new clan leader. Last night Leo started from the starting point, immediately saw a new follower. I'm ecstatic. Thank you, everyone. Chapter 917, Alheaven's counterattack. Those 18 balls of blood descended, and an oppressive aura covered the area. This oppression had no effect on the Alheaven cultivators, and they all glowed red in response to it. However, for the Alliance cultivators that had charged over, their minds all trembled. At this moment, all the Alliance cultivators felt an unimaginable pressure, as if the entire world was crushing them from all sides. Their blood flowed rapidly through their bodies. It was as if all sounds aside from their pounding heartbeats were cut off. Even their visions blurred. The 18 balls of blood were made of blood gathered by the two families from ancient times over tens of thousands of years. The blood was slowly refined after many sacrifices over the countless years. It was one of the two family protection treasures they had. This object was very famous in the ancient cultivation world. It was named the 18 Lufu. Lufu was a cultivation mountain in ancient times. However, one night, the mountain mysteriously collapsed, and all the cultivators in the mountain died the violent deaths of having all their blood drained. Their blood gathered at Mount Lufu and formed a ball of blood 100 feet wide. This was the origin of Lufu. After that, a lot of ancient cultivators came to study it. Although they couldn't understand the cause, they gained an understanding of the ball of blood. Thus the spell for the Lufu blood ball came to be. However, this ball of blood was too vicious and the rate of formation was not high. Although it had mysterious powers, it couldn't be mass refined. The power of the 18 Lufu was their pressure. One Lufu would give one layer of pressure, so 18 Lufu would create an unimaginable degree of pressure. In addition, if a cultivator merged some of their blood into the 18 Lufu, then not only would they not be pressured, their cultivation level would also increase for a short period of time. The Black Fiend Devil Saint's expression was gloomy, and he was about to charge out to destroy the 18 Lufu. However, just at this moment, Blood God appeared from the void and blocked the Black Fiend Devil Saint with a laugh. Master Flamespark's face was expressionless while he pointed backward. This point seemed to be able to penetrate the void. It tore through the spatial cracks covering the western region and entered the tunnel connecting to the Alheaven star system. In the Alheaven star system, there were tens of thousands of cultivators with their cultivation activated. There was one object between them. This object was a piece of wood. However, this piece of wood was 100,000 feet long and 10,000 feet wide. Heaven-piercing wood. This was found by the Thunder Celestial Temple 30,000 years ago. Rumor had it that it was a celestial tree that supported the ancient celestial realm. Only the Thunder Celestial Realm was able to keep theirs relatively intact. The other three realms lost theirs during the collapse of the celestial realms. A powerful surge of celestial spiritual energy appeared. After the Thunder Celestial Temple found it, they hid it away. Now it was taken out as a powerful method of attack against the Alliance. The tens of thousands of cultivators that were surrounding this giant piece of wood shouted in unison. These tens of thousands of cultivators were mercilessly pushing this giant piece of wood forward. There were even old monsters, like the Shang family ancestor and the middle-aged man from the Gongsun family, at the back. With their help, this giant piece of wood moved toward the tunnel ahead with a thunderous rumble. This giant piece of wood had the power to pierce anything slowly gained speed. It accelerated until it formed a storm as it went through the tunnel and appeared in the western region of the Alliance star system. It was so fast that the whistling sound it created could shake one's mind. The power contained within it was unimaginable. The barrier created by the spatial rifts couldn't resist the force of this impact at all. As the endless rumbles echoed, large amounts of ripples spread in every direction. At the center of the ripple, the giant piece of wood charged through and forcibly opened a passage. A large amount of Alheaven cultivators followed around and behind the giant piece of wood, charging into the Alliance filled with killing intent. The expressions of the Alliance cultivators that arrived through transfer arrays changed greatly. They wanted to dodge, but due to the impact of the giant piece of wood, they couldn't dodge at all. Even though they were very far, they were sucked in by the powerful storm formed by the giant piece of wood. There were some cultivators that were hit directly by the piece of wood. Their bodies and origin souls were destroyed, leaving behind a mist of blood. However, compared to the size of the wood, this blood was insignificant. The 18 Lu Fu was the first great treasure the Alheaven cultivators had prepared, and this giant piece of wood was the second, but this still wasn't the end. The giant piece of wood opened the path through the barrier formed by the spatial cracks. Ripples spread across the barrier, and a roar that shook the entire western region came from the tunnel to Alheaven star system. This roar tore through the western region and violently shook the Alliance cultivators. Some of them even bled from their orifices due to the vibrations. An extreme sense of violence came from the tunnel. A giant cultivation planet appeared in the tunnel between the two systems. It was surrounded by white gas and was very strange. The moment it came out, the mist around the planet quickly withdrew until it all disappeared. Then a crack appeared in the middle of the planet. The planet opened up and countless tentacles stretched out. This was the Moongazer serpent. The Moongazer serpent's eyes were bloodshot and were filled with endless anger, enough for it to go crazy. Its tentacles waved like crazy as it charged out. Roar! The Moongazer serpent's mouth opened, and along with its roar, a powerful impact shot out. This roar turned into a storm and shot forward. In an instant, those spatial cracks were pushed back like pieces of torn paper. However, as the roar closed in on the giant piece of wood, a barrier of yellow light appeared. It was like an eggshell that allowed the roar to pass alongside it without any resistance. The angry roar of the Moongazer serpent was so intense that it even caused space to collapse. The space before the giant piece of wood twisted and a white-robed old man was forced out in a somewhat sorry state. His face was extremely gloomy, and his gaze seemed like it would penetrate space. When he saw the giant Moongazer serpent come out from the tunnel, he retreated without any hesitation, but just at that moment, the giant piece of wood arrived. The old man was one of the four saints, the heavenly Tao origin saint. He let out a sigh as he shook his head, and retreated even faster. However, just as he started retreating, the Xiang family ancestor and the Gongsun family's middle-aged man charged out from the giant piece of wood toward the white-robed old man. Fellow Alliance cultivator, why are you in such a rush to leave? The Xiang family ancestor laughed as he waved his sleeves. A red wind quickly appeared and surrounded the surrounding 5,000 kilometers. This great battle began in the western and northern regions and quickly spread. The battle was fierce, and various magical treasures flashed across the battlefields. Ripples of spells spread and affected countless areas. During this intense slaughter, if any Alliance or Alheaven cultivator was careless, they would immediately die. The angered Moongazer serpent seemed to be able to differentiate between Alliance and Alheaven cultivators. It would rarely affect Alheaven cultivators but often slaughtered Alliance cultivators. Due to this, the Alliance cultivators were at an immediate disadvantage. At this moment, Wang Lin was in the western region. Lei Ji's body, which was a lot smaller, only 30 feet tall, was opening the way. The big-headed boy was behind him. As for Ta Shan, he still had a cold expression as he observed his surrounding. Wang Lin's gaze was calm. Along the way he had met several Alliance cultivators. Whenever they saw Wang Lin, their expressions changed due to Wang Lin's group's cultivation levels. They turned around and ran without any hesitation. However, there were several people that thought they were strong enough, or thought they had enough people. They attacked Wang Lin's group after some hesitation, but all of them were directly killed by Wang Lin without any exception. The smell of blood covered their path through the western region. The further he went, the more Alliance cultivators he met, but there weren't too many that were willing to fight him. Wang Lin's body didn't give off any killing intent. However, whether it was Lei Ji, the big-headed boy, or Ta Shan, all three of them were filled with killing intent. They charged forward like sharp swords leading the way. As they made their way, Wang Lin watched their surroundings. The familiar surroundings had all collapsed, and spatial cracks would whistle by. All of this showed that the western region was now completely deserted. However, these cracks before Wang Lin were moved to the side by some mysterious force. If an old monster at the second step who was at the Nirvana cleanser stage saw this, they would be shocked. This was the sign of starting to control law. Although Nirvana's scryer cultivators comprehended law, comprehending and controlling were very different things. Controlling law was something only Nirvana cleanser cultivators could do. Wang Lin had not reached the Nirvana cleanser stage, but with the help of the heaven-defying bead, he had a sliver of aura similar to that of a Nirvana cleanser cultivator, though this aura was very faint. Just at this moment, a beautiful woman wearing purple was fleeing among the stars with a bitter smile. Her sword light was faint, as if she could fall at any time. Behind her was a group of Alliance cultivators. Among them was a middle-aged man with a sneer on his face that was rapidly chasing after her. It's her with Wang Lin's divine sense. He was able to immediately see the woman in the distance. The new chapter is late, but it has over 500 more words than the previous ones. I hope not to be hit. Wishing for the like button for the video. Chapter 91, Extreme Yin Spiritual Energy. Tang Huayuan carefully walked through the jungle with his divine sense spread out. His face suddenly lit up with joy as he found Wang Lin. Just as he was about to teleport, a gust of eerie wind blew, followed by a somber voice. "Get the hell out of here." Tang Huayuan's expression suddenly changed. He quickly backed up a few steps without a thought and looked around. He only saw a dark fog flying in from the distance. The dark fog was surrounded by eerie winds. A withered hand extended from the dark fog and reached toward Tang Huayuan. Tang Huayuan scanned the fog with his divine sense and became frightened. This person's cultivation level was mid-stage nascent soul, causing him to back up again. The withered hand lightly waved. A giant hand appeared and tried to grab Tang Huayuan. Tang Huayuan wryly smiled. He turned around and ran without any hesitation, because a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator was not something he could mess with. He knew that there was a powerful cultivator here, but he didn't expect it to be a mid-stage nascent soul one. Tang Huayuan disappeared in the blink of an eye. The hand let out a cold snort and disappeared as well. Tang Huayuan appeared in the sky outside the forest. His expression suddenly changed as a giant hand silently appeared behind him and mercilessly grabbed toward him. Tang Huayuan secretly complained. He quickly took out a beast skin. He pointed with his hand and the beast's skin wrapped around him and moved him away, barely escaping the giant hand. Despite all of this, he was still hit by the fingers of the giant hand. He coughed out blood and his face became pale, but he quickly escaped without even looking back. A black fog appeared in the air. The fog slowly shrunk until it revealed a person. The person was completely dried up and looked like a bag of bones. He looked at the direction Tang Huayuan escaped toward. However, he didn't chase, but returned to the forest. He calmly flew around back and forth in the jungle as if he was looking for something. Shortly after, he stopped above an open area. He stared at the ground without any emotion. He slammed the ground with his hand, and with a bang, a large crack appeared in the ground. The moment the crack appeared, a scream came from the ground as a dark figure flew out, trying to escape. The withered man let out a cold snort, and a cage surrounded the area. The dark figure hit the cage and bounced back. It no longer tried to run away but kneeled down and started kowtowing. The withered man slowly said, "After not seeing it for 100 years, I didn't expect Master S body to turn into a zombie and even form its own soul. You are still considered someone of my generation, so I can let you live, but you must use your connection to the Master to help me find him." The zombie quickly nodded as he stared with fear in his eyes at the withered man. The withered man waved his hand and the cage disappeared. He stared at the zombie and darkly said, "Come, take me to Master. If you can help me find Master's nascent soul, then once I devour it and free myself, I'll help you evolve into a demon." The zombie was startled and revealed a joyous expression. It quickly nodded and ran off into the jungle. The man emotionlessly followed. At that moment, somewhere in the ruins where the sunshine didn't reach, the blue-skinned man looked toward Wang Lin's direction with a lingering expression. As for Wang Lin, although he had absorbed a large amount of yin energy, it was all only rank 6 or 7 good quality. With this quality, no matter much was absorbed, the change to his spiritual energy wasn't much, and it was no longer good enough for him to make more breakthroughs. He turned his gaze to deeper in the ruin. His target was over there. He decided to explore a bit and find where the highest quality yin energy was. After all, the higher the quality, the higher the success rate of a breakthrough. At midnight of this day, Wang Lin's hand formed the seal for the yin energy detection technique as he walked through the ruins. After walking for a distance, the red light flashed rapidly, and with a pop, it split into 2. The moment the red light turned into 2, Wang Lin revealed a happy expression. He knew that this meant that the yin energy had surpassed ordinary quality and had reached good quality. As he kept walking forward, the 2 red lights kept glowing as the rank increased. Good quality rank 2, rank 3 until rank 5. Wang Lin stopped. Before him was a wide road with a ruined building on each side. It was clear that a long time ago this was a very populated area. Wang Lin calculated the distance for a bit and realized that he hadn't even traveled 1,000th of the radius of the city, so he started to move faster. The red light released by the technique was very eye-catching in the night. Wang Lin's divine sense was spread out, constantly checking his surroundings. The quality of the yin energy kept increasing. Good quality rank 6, 7, 8. The sun rose and fell. On the 4th day, Wang Lin had already entered the depths of the ruins. He guessed that his current position was the center of the city. If it was not the center, it wasn't far from it. On the way here, he saw dozens of deep pits, meters wide, filled with rainwater. There were also mysterious snakes that would jump out at Wang Lin with their poisonous fangs. In addition to this, the destruction in the ruins became even worse. On the path to his current location, there were no structures taller than 10 meters. Besides the overgrown grass area, there was a swamp. There were also some mysterious creatures living in the swamp. Once, Wang Lin was almost eaten by one of those creatures, making him even more alert of his surroundings. Despite going so deep into the ruins, the quality of the yin energy still never reached dense quality. On the night of the 5th day, he walked out of the swamp and before him was a large group of buildings. Although all of the buildings had collapsed, you could still see how populated this place must have been. The most eye-catching spot was the 1,000-meter wide and 100-meter deep hole in the ground. This giant hole was very strange. Normally speaking, this hole should be filled with rainwater, but there was no liquid inside it at all. Wang Lin took a closer look. Although it was night and there was dense yin energy in the way, Wang Lin could still clearly see the beehive-like caves at the bottom of the giant hole. The moment Wang Lin reached the edge of the hole to inspect them, the red light in his hand suddenly reacted. The red light fused into 1, then split into 3, indicating that the yin energy here had reached good quality. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He didn't rush in, but carefully walked around the hole. When he was on the opposite side, the 3 lights fused back into 1 and became 2 again. He understood that the reason the yin energy reached good quality was this giant hole. Wang Lin rubbed his chin. After pondering for a while, he didn't immediately jump in, but sat down and decided to wait for morning. Before long, it turned into day. The moment the yin energy dissipated, Wang Lin jumped into the giant hole. The moment he landed, The small green flying sword came out, releasing a cold aura. Wang Lin raised his head and looked into the sky. With how deep this hole was, it should be been filled with rainwater after all these years. Wang Lin's eyes squinted, and he focused his gaze on the countless beehive-like holes at the bottom of the giant hole. Although he didn't know how deep the holes were, all of the water must have drained through them. He touched the holes and found that they were damp, reaffirming his previous thoughts. After carefully checking the surroundings and finding no danger, he sat down cross-legged and waited for night to come. The sun set and night came. As the yin energy flooded in, all of the beasts ran away, not willing to spend the night here. The light before Wang Lin became brighter and brighter as it turned from 1 to 2, then from 2 to 3. Normal quality rank 4, 6, 8, 10, good quality rank 3, 6, 10, and broke through to dense quality. It was still not midnight yet, and the quality of the yin energy had already reached rank 1 dense quality. Wang Lin exposed a happy expression. He spread out his divine sense and found that the reason the yin energy quality was higher here had something to do with the holes in the ground. He could see slivers of yin energy coming out of the holes and mix with the surrounding yin energy. As time passed, the red light shone even brighter and reached rank 2 dense quality. When midnight arrived, the yin energy had reached rank 5 dense quality. Wang Lin no longer hesitated and quickly started to cultivate. With more and more yin energy gathered at his chest, he found one difference. The purity of the yin energy was more than 10 times higher than before. A change in quality could cause a change in quantity. This meant that 1 minute of gathering yin energy now was like more than 10 minutes of gathering yin energy before. Soon, the yin energy at his chest started to form a swirl and spin. As the swirl spun faster and faster, the unexpected change that occurred last time happened again. The yin energy within 100 feet of Wang Lin fluctuated and rushed toward him. As the swirl in his chest absorbed more yin energy, it became larger. Soon, it reached last time's size of 1,000 feet in radius. The range kept increasing. 1,200 feet, 1,400 feet, 1,500 feet. Within a 10-kilometer radius, the yin energy moved as if it were being manipulated as it rushed toward Wang Lin and was devoured. As the yin energy that swirled in his chest grew larger and larger, he started to feel like he was losing control. Knowing his limits, he controlled the yin energy to start attempting the first breakthrough of his QIC. The yin energy swirl was like a spinning blade repeatedly stabbing at the QIC to open it. Slowly, the QIC showed signs of opening. The sign grew stronger and stronger. If you compared this breakthrough to trying to destroy a stone wall, then this wall was now filled with cracks and was ready to collapse. After 1 hour, the QIC was no longer able to withstand it and collapsed with a bang. Large amounts of human potential exploded from the QIC like a volcano. It quickly mixed with the yin energy, forming a very powerful yin force. Currently, the spiritual energy in his dantian became restless. It quickly moved toward the newly formed yin force and started to devour it. Whenever a sliver of yin force was formed, Wang Lin's spiritual energy would devour it to strengthen itself. Gradually, as Wang Lin's spiritual energy devoured all of the yin force, his spiritual energy became even stronger. A nebula-like scene appeared in Wang Lin's Qi. Waves of blue spiritual energy spread out from the nebula. Wang Lin felt the very strange spiritual energy in his body. His eyes lit up as he lightly touched a stone next to him. In an instant, there was a flash of blue light, and the stone was completely frozen, releasing yin energy. Wang Lin took a deep breath and quickly kicked the frozen stone. With a series of crackling sounds, the stone broke into many pieces. Wang Lin carefully checked and quickly sucked in a breath of cold air. Upon closer inspection, he found that the internal structure of the stone was constantly changing. This was no longer rock, but more of an ice crystal structure. In other words, with one touch of his spiritual power, he didn't just freeze the stone, but completely changed its structure to ice. Wang Lin didn't know that after a session of devouring the yin energy, his spiritual energy had undergone a great change. Even if Situnan was awake right now, he wouldn't be able to figure this out. In ancient cultivation times, besides the different ranks in cultivation level, there were also 3 ranks for spiritual energy, which were Ji, Dao, and Shi. The 3 realms weren't ranked in any order, but advanced in parallel. Once a realm had been entered, one couldn't switch to another realm. The difficulty to enter the 3 realms wasn't high, but it wasn't too easy either. It all depended on luck in the end. In ancient cultivation times, any knowledgeable cultivators would know not to choose the Ji realm. While the offensive power of the Ji realm was high, there were too many drawbacks. One of the most deadly drawbacks was that once one walked the path of Ji, one could only use Ji spiritual energy, which presented a huge issue in breaking through to the spirit severing stage from the nascent soul stage. Spirit severing required one to integrate with the world and not walk an extreme path. However, even with those downsides, the Ji realm also had a lot of benefits. It could be said that people of the same cultivation level couldn't defend against Ji realm at all. Although one had no chance of reaching the spirit severing stage, after reaching the peak of the nascent soul stage, one could become the number one of everyone below the spirit severing stage. More importantly, with the increase in cultivation, Ji realm cultivators didn't even need magic treasures, because their Ji realm spiritual power was already the most powerful type of spiritual energy. As for the Tao realm, it was the dream of all cultivators. Once your spiritual energy entered the Tao realm, then entering the spirit-severing stage was very easy. Because of this, the Tao realm was the most sought-after realm in the ancient cultivation world. As for the Shi realm, if Ji realm was death, then Shi realm was life. It was not a realm people below spirit-severing could comprehend, and even for spirit-severing cultivators, it was something they could only wish to have. The three spiritual energy realms were very difficult to grasp, and with the destruction of the ancient cultivation world, the information about the three realms gradually disappeared. The cultivators nowadays don't care about the type or quality of their spiritual energy. The only thing they pay any heed to is their cultivation level. Wang Lin didn't know that because of all the yin energy he devoured, his spiritual energy changed to the Ji realm. The reason for all this was because of the underworld ascension method. It was one of the few methods that could create Ji realm spiritual energy. However, the underworld ascension method Situ Nan gave Wang Lin wasn't like the one from the ancient cultivation world. With the passage of time, parts of the methods were lost, and it was their successors that reorganized the remaining information. As for Wang Lin's spiritual energy entering the door to Ji realm, the most important factor was the heaven-defying bead. Wang Lin stared at his fingertips, and his eyes lit up. Just at that moment, he raised his head and jumped out of the hole. He looked and saw the blue-skinned man quickly closing in. The end of the year is here, brothers. Give a like for Leo. Chapter 918. Zhou Tian. 1. Shi Zifeng bit her lower lip. Originally, she came to the Alliance star system with her family. However, she was affected by the massive collapse earlier and was thrown far away. This was how she was separated from her family. After she finally stabilized herself, what she saw was a hell-like slaughter. Shi Zifeng's beauty attracted the attention of the Alliance cultivators. Someone immediately came chasing after her. Shi Zifeng was very anxious as she escaped with her teeth clenched. However, due to the previous impact, she was injured. Adding on her rapid escape, this made her injuries worse. A middle-aged man had a sneer as he slapped his bag of holding and took out a golden needle. He threw the needle and it flew straight toward Shi Zifeng. This Al-Heaven female cultivator will be my 19th cultivation furnace. Haha, I've never had a taste of an Al-Heaven female before. It looks like I didn't come here vain. The middle-aged man laughed and the flying sword under his feet moved even faster. Seeing that the golden needle was about to pierce her back, Shi Zifeng immediately turned around and formed a seal. There was a flash of silver light that attempted to stop the golden needle. However, the golden needle was too strong. The moment it touched the silver light, Shi Zifeng felt a powerful impact. Then she coughed out blood and was pushed back. Her face was pale without any trace of blood. As the middle-aged man laughed, he quickly closed in. However, just as he was about to grab Shi Zifeng, an extremely cold voice echoed, "Back off." These were two very simple words, but in the ears of the middle-aged man, it was as if tens of thousands of bolts of thunder had exploded at once and rumbled through his mind. The middle-aged man's cultivation level wasn't high, higher than Shi Zifeng's, but not by much. At this moment, as the middle-aged man's body trembled, he only felt a hum in his ear, and it was as if he was isolated from the world. All he could hear was his own heart rate rapidly accelerating. The sound that entered his ear was like a sharp sword that penetrated his body, and it was as if it contained a destructive power. It turned him pale and he immediately coughed out blood. He involuntarily retreated. At this moment, a monstrous wave was set off in the middle-aged man's heart and endless fear immediately submerged him. He clearly felt like he had lost control of his body. It was as if a will had entered his body through his ears and mercilessly controlled his body to retreat. It was as if he had to obey that will, and he couldn't raise the slightest resistance, or he would die without a grave. This was the first time the middle-aged man had felt this. Terrified, he couldn't care about anything else. Although he was rapidly retreating, he didn't dare to resist at all. That will seem to have changed the law in the world, which caused the middle-aged man to cough out more blood. He wasn't the only one. The surrounding cultivators that were chasing Shi Feng were even worse off than the middle-aged man. The same will force them to continue to retreat. It looked like a giant storm had formed before Shi Feng and blew them all back. While they retreated, popping sounds could be heard as cultivators whose bodies couldn't withstand the will died and their bodies collapsed. Large amounts of blood appeared, but it was really insignificant among the stars. Even their origin souls weren't able to escape and were disintegrated along with their bodies. Their souls weren't able to enter the reincarnation cycle and were forced out from the void. They turned into rays of black light that flew into Wang Lin's body and were sealed within the 18 layers of hell. Everything had happened so fast that Shi Feng was startled for a moment before her vision was completely captivated by the figure silently walking toward her. Wang Lin calmly looked at the several cultivators that were rapidly retreating. The words he had just spoken contained a hint of the law he had just gained enlightenment in. There were also the words that became law that were converted into a force of will. The middle-aged man's eyes revealed a look of aghast and shock. It was as if there was voice crying in his head that made him certain that this was one of the powerhouse of Al-Heaven. However, he wasn't able to make a sound with his mouth because his body collapsed during his constant retreat. This level of cultivator was really insignificant before Wang Lin. Just like back in the demon spirit land, when the scattered demon could make Wang Lin's body collapse with a cold snort, the current Wang Lin had reached the level of the scattered demon from back then. The middle-aged man's origin soul flew out and quickly dissipated. Just as it was about to die, a feminine voice came from the void. You are indeed worthy of being Al-Heaven's thunder celestial, Shu Mu. The moment this feminine voice appeared, a person arrived from the distant stars. This person looked middle-aged and had an earth-yellow face. Behind him were countless black shadows that were like a long cloaks that spread out among the stars. The person that spoke was the six-fingered cultivator. His voice entered the void, and then the middle-aged man's origin soul escaped Wang Lin's will. The origin soul immediately stopped dissipating and quickly escaped. More than half the origin soul had dissipated, and it was extremely weak. It could collapse at any moment. The middle-aged man's origin soul was filled with fear and he was about to flee. Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he casually waved his right hand. A gust of wind appeared before him and immediately turned into countless heavenly chops that fused into one. It chased after the escaping origin soul. The six-fingered cultivator revealed a strange smile and also pointed with his right hand. The countless shadows that formed the cloak behind him charged out toward Wang Lin's heavenly chop. The two of them began a battle of spells with the life of this origin soul as the goal. When the heavenly chop and the countless shadows collided next to the origin soul, they caused a heaven-shaking explosion. After Wang Lin gained a sliver of enlightenment and law, the power of the heavenly chop had increased explosively. After all, Wang Lin had only unconsciously used it and didn't understand law, so the true power of the heavenly chop couldn't be displayed. However, right now it was very different. The heavenly chop could chop all law. As it charged out, all the shadows that made contact with it immediately collapsed and dissipated. In almost the blink of an eye, all the shadows disappeared and the heavenly chop shot straight for the origin soul. The six-fingered cultivator's expression changed, and he let out a cold snort before stepping out. His right hand formed a seal and the shadows behind him condensed. In an instant, they all fused into a small black ball. An aura that could shake one's mind came from the small ball and shrouded the area. The ball flew out at a quick speed and went toward the heavenly chop. It seemed to be able to penetrate the void, and instantly closed in on the heavenly chop. The six-fingered cultivator laughed, and he waved his right hand. A powerful impact appeared near the origin soul. The origin soul was immediately swept back and pushed far away. In the blink of an eye, It was about to disappear among the stars. No one can kill someone who I, soul servant Zhou Tian, want to save. Wang Lin's expression was neutral, and he didn't even look at Zhou Tian. He lifted his feet and took a step. Ripples appeared under his feet, and then he disappeared. This scene startled Zhou Tian, but then his pupils immediately shrank. In the distance, the origin soul was no longer confused and was filled with joy. Just as it rushed among the stars, Wang Lin calmly stepped out of thin air, and his right hand formed a fist. He threw a punch, and there was a loud bang followed by ripples spreading through space. Shatter! As Wang Lin spoke, the origin soul immediately trembled violently. The origin soul seemed to have turned into a person made of sand and dissipated within the violent storm. Zhou Tian's eyes shined as he stared at Wang Lin. The strange light in his eyes became even stronger. He lifted his right hand and pointed at Shi Zifeng, who was watching all of this. Several shadows flew out from behind Zhou Tian and dashed toward Shi Zifeng. You want to save this woman, but I want to let you succeed. As Zhou Tian's feminine voice echoed, the shadows closed in on Shi Zifeng. Shi Zifeng's face turned pale, and she quickly retreated. Zhou Tian had a smile on his face as he carefully observed Wang Lin's expression. However, he couldn't see any joy or anger on Wang Lin's face. From beginning to end, Wang Lin was as calm as water as he watched Zhou Tian's actions. There wasn't any change in Wang Lin's expression as he coldly looked at Zhou Tian and took a step. Zhou Tian's pupils shrank and he immediately retreated without hesitation. Ripples appeared next to Shi Zifeng as Wang Lin walked out and threw his fist. Those several shadows immediately collapsed. I don't care if you want to kill her, but not in front of me. Wang Lin's voice was flat, and when he finished speaking, he rushed toward Zhou Tian with eyes filled with killing intent. Zhou Tian sneered, and his hands formed a seal and pointed at the void. Large amounts of shadows behind him condensed into a black axe before him. Zhou Tian grabbed it and mercilessly threw it. 10,000 soul devour! As Zhou Tian shouted, that giant axe charged straight for Wang Lin. Wang Lin stepped out and threw a punch. There was a loud rumble as the big axe immediately collapsed and turned into countless shadows. The shadows scattered and then charged at Wang Lin from all directions. Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he pointed up. Thunder was gathered from the void within 5,000 kilometers and instantly gathered here. The surroundings became a lake of thunder. The last 2 days of the month are upon us. Wishing for the like button for the video. Right now, it's about doubling the likes for the video. Very grateful and will return the favor. Chapter 919. Zhou Tian 2. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the world. Bolts of thunder descended before Wang Lin, and those tens of thousands of illusory shadows all collapsed. Zhou Tian's eyes flashed as his hands formed a seal, and he pointed to between his eyebrows. Black lines appeared as he shouted, "Soul, kill!" The moment he said those 2 words, a black pattern seemed to come out from his face. A black ring immediately appeared above his head and spread like crazy. It spread too fast and closed in on Wang Lin's body in an instant. Wang Lin didn't even dodge. He closed in on Zhou Tian. The moment the black ring touched Wang Lin's body, it turned into countless thin threads and entered Wang Lin's body. However, before they could get deep inside, they all shattered with one shake from Wang Lin. Wang Lin's speed didn't slow down at all. He arrived before Zhou Tian and threw a punch. Zhou Tian's expression changed as he slapped his bag of holding while he retreated. A ball of purple light appeared in his hand and he immediately crushed it. The purple light immediately surrounded Zhou Tian. As popping sounds echoed, the purple light collapsed and Zhou Tian's body retreated even faster. As Zhou Tian retreated, Wang Lin took a step and merged with the world. When Wang Lin reappeared, he was next to Zhou Tian, and he kicked with his right foot. This kick was so fast that it set off a bang that seemed loud enough to shatter the stars. It landed on Zhou Tian's body in an instant. Zhou Tian's body collapsed immediately after the bang. It turned into a mist of blood, but laughter came from the void. Purple shadows immediately rushed out from the void toward Wang Lin. I, Zhou Tian, will take this body, as the feminine voice echoed. Those purple shadows immediately entered Wang Lin's body like crazy and charged toward his origin soul. However, just as these purple shadows got near Wang Lin's origin soul opened its eyes. The ancient god leather armor gave off an ancient aura that fused with Wang Lin's origin soul. This formed an unimaginable backlash. The moment the purple shadows charged in to take over the origin soul, they collided with this backlash. There were miserable screams. It was as if those shadows had met their natural enemy and wanted to leave Wang Lin's body. However, just as they were about to charge out, Wang Lin's origin soul arrived. The ancient thunder dragon origin soul opened its mouth and inhaled. Some of the shadows weren't able to escape and were devoured by Wang Lin. The Wang Lin was currently surrounded by purple gas. More purple gas was charging out and condensing into an illusionary figure 100 feet from him. Let's use you to test the power of my spell. Wang Lin's right hand formed a seal and he calmly said,
Magic arsenal!
A sliver of celestial origin energy came out from Wang Lin's celestial core and gathered in his right hand. It formed an orb of golden light that Wang Lin threw out. It was as if golden specks had filled the world. At this instant, the entire space itself trembled, and the countless golden specks turned into illusory shadows. This was the first time Wang Lin had used magic arsenal. All those shadows were people killed by Wang Lin. They couldn't enter the reincarnation cycle and were imprisoned in the 18 layers of hell. Now that they appeared, an extremely powerful resentment aura filled the world. Every single person killed by Wang Lin was filled with heaven-shaking resentment. Zhou Tian looked at everything before him. His mind trembled and shock filled his eyes. Although those illusory figures couldn't pose a threat to Zhou Tian, a portion of them made him gasp. There was a person who had a gloomy expression and was surrounded by black mist. The figure sometimes revealed itself and gave off a powerful sense of resentment. There was a powerful fluctuation coming from this person. Nirvana Scryer Cultivator. Zhou Tian's expression became gloomy after he looked around. There were hundreds of celestial souls in the surroundings. The rich, celestial, spiritual energy and resentment combined could slaughter the heavens. The moment Zhou Tian saw the celestials, disbelief filled his eyes and he cried, These are souls of celestials. He had spent his life learning the Tao of Soul, so he was able to recognize them at a glance. There was also that Yao family soul that gave off rich killing intent. What kind of spell is this? It's too terrifying. It was able to imprison so many souls and didn't allow them to enter the reincarnation cycle. This is clearly a demonic spell. This scene shocked Zhou Tian's mind and made his shock reach a peak. However, what happened after was what really made him lose his wits. He heard a beast-like roar come from the countless shadows. All the shadows seemed to be extremely afraid of it and opened up a path. A red mist charged out, and no shadow dared to block its path. As the red mist churned, it revealed one person. This person looked middle-aged, he had a head of red hair, and his expression was ferocious. An indescribable sense of killing intent was spreading from his body as if he was going to reverse the heavens. The moment this red-haired person appeared, Zhou Tian was startled for a moment. Then he felt an unimaginable amount of fear and terror that he had never felt before. Planet Tian Yunna's blood ancestor. Zhou Tian's scalp went numb, and he immediately retreated without any hesitation. He discarded any thought of killing Shumu. It was not that he didn't want to kill, but he couldn't. Although he was at the mid-stage of Nirvana Scryer, this Shumu was too strange. Due to his insight, he immediately knew that one had to kill the person themselves in order to imprison the soul for their own use. And he also knew the blood ancestor, and due to this shock, his heart immediately became timid. Blood ancestor is a Nirvana cleanser cultivator, but he was killed by Shumu. I can't resist this person at all. I must escape. Wang Lin pointed at Zhou Tian and calmly said, Pull this person into the 18 layers of hell. After he spoke, frenzied roars came out from the souls. In particular, the blood ancestor was surrounded by a monstrous red mist and immediately closed in on Zhou Tian. Zhou Tian's face turned pale and he immediately retreated. However, at this moment, the Yao family member and the hundreds of celestials surrounded him. They completely sealed off Zhou Tian's path of retreat. There were countless soul fragments surrounding the outer rim. They were all letting out waves of cries. Zhou Tian's eyes were almost filled with madness. He had spent his life learning the Tao of Souls. and at this moment he let out a roar and his hands formed a seal. He pointed at his chest, and his body immediately collapsed. Countless illusory shadows fled in all directions. Since Zhou Tian's soul Dao had almost reached completion, his body no longer existed. Even his origin soul had been fused with his soul. Only by doing this could he truly display his killing moves. Even if someone had a higher cultivation level than him, if they weren't careful, they would fall to his sneak attacks. However, he complained in his heart. Originally, he wanted to possess Wang Lin, but due to the ancient god leather armor, he was repelled and injured slightly. Normally, this wouldn't be an issue, but he didn't expect Wang Lin's origin soul to be so fierce and directly devour his soul. As a result, he had to retreat, but just as he left Wang Lin's body and was about to use a spell, he saw a spell that made him lose his wits. At this moment, his heart was anxious, and he split into countless pieces and wanted to flee. However, the blood ancestor grinned and was surrounded by blood mist. He, along with the hundreds of celestials in the Yao family member, charged out. There were waves of miserable screams, and the blood ancestor seemed to become a primal beast as he grabbed a large amount of Zhou Tian's shadows and dragged them into the mist. The surrounding hundreds of celestials did the same. In almost an instant, all of Zhou Tian's shadows were captured. None was able to escape. The end of the month is here. Wishing for the like button for the video. Brothers, do you still have likes for the video? You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 920. Zhou Tian 3. Cold wind blew across the stars and countless souls wandered the area. The resentment in the area was monstrous. Wang Lin was calmly observing from the side. He had gained some understanding of magic arsenal power. He raised his right hand and pointed up. A giant vortex appeared, and all the souls were sucked into it. The only one different was the blood ancestor. His eyes flashed red, and he charged directly at Wang Lin after letting out a roar. There was a flash of killing intent in Wang Lin's eyes as his right hand formed a fist and he threw a punch. There was a loud bang and the blood ancestor's origin soul paused for a moment. Using this pause, Wang Lin used more celestial origin energy to make the vortex speed up, increasing its suction force. The blood ancestor's soul let out an unwilling cry as he was sucked back in. The vortex and the stars slowly disappeared before turning back into a ray of light and being swallowed by Wang Lin. In the 18 layers of hell, there was an extra soul in the 13th layer. Although this soul fragment was on the TH layer, it was at the peak of TH layer. He was Zhou Tian. After killing Zhou Tian, Wang Lin calmly looked at Shi Zifeng before withdrawing his gaze and going on his way. Ta Shan followed behind, and the big-headed boy no longer found any of this strange. As for Lei Ji, he quickly followed Wang Lin into the distant stars. As Shi Zifeng pondered, she also followed. As they moved, Wang Lin began to ponder. The battle between the Alliance and Al-Heaven has reached a high point. This is the moment to rack up some achievements to appease Master Flamespark's heart. I need to obtain more prestige among the Al-Heaven cultivators. That way, if I encounter the Ulcer or if Tuo Sen escapes from the land of the ancient god, then Master Flamespark will have to help. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he made up his mind. However, he wasn't too optimistic about Al-Heaven's offensive against the Alliance. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and a small flag appeared. There was a flying tiger pattern on this flag. After Wang Lin raised it, the flying tiger rushed out and let out a roar that shook the stars. Activating the flying tiger flag and releasing the flying tiger meant Wang Lin had announced his own presence. As he moved, dozens of rays of sword energy appeared in the distance a short moment later. There were two groups fighting, and it was obvious the Al-Heaven side was losing. The other side was filled with killing intent and continued to cast spells. It only took a few breaths of time for an Al-Heaven cultivator to die. These 7 or 8 Al-Heaven cultivators' eyes were filled with despair. They were injured by the shockwave earlier and were too exhausted to escape. Just at this moment, a tiger's roar came from the distance and a powerful divine sense spread out. The Al-Heaven cultivators were startled. Then they looked back and revealed indescribable joy. Thunder Celestial Shu Mu. It is Thunder Celestial Shu Mu. The Alliance cultivators had received information from their elders. One of the old men had apparently seen information about Shu Mu. His expression changed, and a flash of coldness appeared in his eyes. He retreated without hesitation and shouted, "This Shu Mu is a Nirvana Scryer cultivator. Quickly retreat!" In another direction, 3 cultivators were fighting, and it was a stalemate. All 3 were illusory yin cultivators, but if one looked closer, one would see 2 all-heaven cultivators fighting 1 alliance cultivator. The alliance cultivator was very ruthless, and he was able to remain very calm even while fighting 1 versus 2. Just at this moment, a tigeress roar came from the distance. One of the all-heaven cultivators cautiously spread out his divine sense backwards and was immediately startled. Shu Mu. Not only did he know Shu Mu, but he was someone Wang Lin had saved in the Thunder Celestial Realm. The alliance cultivator that was battling them was startled. The name Shu Mu was familiar, and after pondering for a bit, his expression changed greatly. The alliance had sent information about the all-heaven cultivators to his sect. They separated the all-heaven cultivators into 7 levels. Level 1 was the weakest, and level 7 was the strongest. He remembered that this Shu Mu was at level 5. He retreated without any hesitation. Along the way, Wang Lin encountered a large number of cultivators. When the all-heaven cultivators saw Wang Lin and the flying tiger, they quickly approached. Waves of greetings, Thunder Celestial, came from the cultivators who came toward Wang Lin. In their eyes, Wang Lin was a bright beacon during their moment of confusion. The collapse of the western region had sent a vast majority of the all-heaven cultivators into panic. There were a lot of deaths, and those who survived were scattered. At the same time, the appearance of the alliance cultivators made the situation worse for the all-heaven cultivators. Right now, Wang Lin's flying tiger flag was the anchor for their hearts. The roars coming from the flying tiger made the all-heaven cultivators' minds tremble. Wang Lin's attitude also changed from before. If he encountered 2 sides fighting, he would immediately attack. A large amount of all-heaven cultivators had gathered around Wang Lin. These people formed a very powerful force. Most of the time, Wang Lin didn't even need to personally act. The all-heaven cultivators following him would charge out and destroy the enemy. More and more all-heaven cultivators gradually gathered around Wang Lin. The sword energies under their feet made them look like a giant sword stabbing into the western region. Wang Lin's group of cultivators wasn't the only group in the western region. The Thunder Celestial Temple messengers, the other celestial, and some cultivation families were doing the same. However, Wang Lin's team of cultivators had the most people. As he moved forward, more people constantly joined, until there were hundreds of rays of sword energy flying through space. The sound of the flying swords and the roar of the flying tiger continued to spread. Wang Lin's reputation quickly reached a certain height. Just as the group of cultivators with Wang Lin charged into the center of the western region, the space suddenly began to shake mysteriously. Ripples were rushing over from the distance like crazy. There was an aura that shook one's mind within the ripples. Even the sword lights under the feet of the cultivators around Wang Lin became unstable. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, and he spread out his divine sense. Even with his mental strength, he couldn't help but be startled. Bursts of loud rumbles echoed. In the distance, a 100,000 feet long and 10,000 feet wide giant piece of wood, carrying a force that could shake any normal cultivator, charged forward with unimaginable force. Countless all-heaven cultivators were surrounding this giant piece of wood. They gave off powerful, killing intent. What shocked Wang Lin was the rich smell of blood that he could clearly feel even from this far away. It was obvious that countless people had died to the impact of this giant piece of wood. Wang Lin had never seen this giant piece of wood before. He only took a look at it, but he could feel an unimaginable shock. He clearly knew that if he was hit by the giant piece of wood, he would immediately be seriously injured. If he was just a bit careless, he could even die, unless he knew in advance and escaped by merging with the world. Although this giant piece of wood could cause Wang Lin's mind to tremble, it wouldn't have startled him. What really startled Wang Lin was the thing behind the giant piece of wood. Moongazer Serpent. The Moongazer Serpent's giant body was like a cultivation planet. and its countless tentacles were swaying around it. Its constant angry roars echoed among the stars. The moment Wang Lin saw the moongazer serpent, his body trembled. This tremble came from his ancient god body. The end of the month, wishing for the like button for the video. Don't hold back, it's expiring. Chapter 921. Green Jade. The shaking from his original body made Wang Lin's eyes lit up. The ancient god stars between his eyebrows flickered. He took a deep breath and suppressed this trembling, and the ancient god stars no longer flashed. Staring at the moongazer serpent with countless swaying tentacles in the distance, Wang Lin was extremely shocked. Back then, I borrowed the moongazer serpent to kill the Yao family and hid inside its body. I thought that someone in Heaven knew something about the moongazer serpent. What kind of person could capture the moongazer serpent and send into the alliance as a weapon? Could it be him? Wang Lin gasped and thought of the figure he had seen twice. The first time was during the battle between Qing Shui and Blood God. The second time was during the celestial bestowments where he tore open the passage between the two star systems. At this moment, the whistling sound of the giant piece of wood before the moongazer serpent became louder and louder. As the ripples closed in, the cultivators behind Wang Lin began to cheer. At the same time, these cultivators immediately flew forward. Wang Lin hesitated for a bit before moving forward and charging toward the giant piece of wood. This giant piece of wood was too large even from far away. When they closed in, they felt its powerful impact along with its majestic pressure. Countless cultivators stepped on various treasures and followed the giant piece of wood. There were also cultivators on the giant piece of wood. However, not many were standing on it. There weren't even 100 cultivators on the wood. The two that stood at the front of those cultivators on the giant piece of wood were the Zhang family ancestor, Li Yunzi, and the Shenggong family ancestor. The two of them stood at the front of the giant piece of wood. Their clothes moved without any wind, their eyes were like lightning, and their gazes were cold. Behind them were the rest of the cultivators. Most of them were the 108 Celestials, but there were also some Wang Lin had not seen before. However, from the fluctuations of their origin souls, Wang Lin could see that these people were not weak. They were at the peak of the corporeal yang stage. There were people at the nirvana scryer stage. In addition to these people, there were 3 more people that caught Wang Lin's attention. One of them was sitting on the right side of the giant piece of wood. He was wearing a black robe and had white hair. There were several scars on his face that were extremely strange. They weren't static. They seemed to subtly move. Just one glance at them was enough to make someone gasp. The moment Wang Lin's gaze landed on the old man's eyes lit up, and he looked at Wang Lin. He revealed a smile filled with cold intent. Another person that caught Wang Lin's attention was a woman. This woman was graceful, pretty as a spring peach, and pure like the autumn chrysanthemum. She was about years old, her eyes were filled with spirit, and her beautiful nose was straight. She had a small indent on her cheek, her skin was white, and her eyes contained a hint of the ocean's blue. She was standing on the giant piece of wood, and was wearing a light green palace dress with a thin layer of golden silk. Her wide clothes had purple pattern on them, and her 3,000 strands of black hair were simply hanging behind her head, with some around her neck. There was a small red gem at the center of her forehead that embellished her look just right. She was very beautiful. Without any makeup, her skin glowed and was as white as snow. It gave off a creamy color, and was like a delicate flower. Maybe it was due to the giant piece of wood moving too fast, but there was some wind that caused her thin silk to flow in the air. It made her look like a fairy. After seeing Wang Lin's gaze, she gracefully smiled at Wang Lin. However, this smile contained a sense of nobility, as if no one could reach her. The last person was a youth. He had a white shirt and was surrounded by 3 bamboo flutes that gave off strange flute sounds. From a distance, the sound of the flute seemed to turn corporeal and formed an illusion around the youth. It was easy for one to lose their heart inside this illusion. The youth didn't even care about Wang Lin's gaze at all. He focused on cultivating with his eyes closed and was filled with arrogance. The reason these 3 people had caught Wang Lin's attention was because Wang Lin couldn't see through their cultivation. As Wang Lin observed the people on the piece of wood, the cultivators on the piece of wood also looked at Wang Lin. Given Wang Lin's reputation in the Heaven star system, it didn't take long for them to recognize Wang Lin. Not to mention there was also the roar of the flying tiger behind him. They followed the giant piece of wood, and along the way, they saw some Heaven cultivators. However, they were only a few dozen people at most, and they were in extremely sorry states. At this moment, the team Wang Lin had gathered was hundreds of people large. This caused all the cultivators around the giant piece of wood to look at Wang Lin. It was obvious that it was due to Shu Mu's presence that there were so many cultivators here. Thunder Celestial Shu Mu. He was Shu Mu, the hero of the Celestial Bestowment Competition. Even Planet Donglin Shu Ting was beaten, and Shu Mu became the Thunder Celestial. I just want to know if Shu Mu is qualified to step onto the giant wood. Many gazes fell on Wang Lin. Any of them hadn't seen Wang Lin, so their impressions were only from what they had seen of the competition and the sound transmission sound their families had. Wang Lin's expression didn't change at all from so many people watching him. He was very calm. Shu Mu, come to this old man. Li Yunzi naturally saw Wang Lin. The coldness on his face melted a bit, and he revealed a smile. Wang Lin nodded and charged toward the giant wood. The impact from the giant wood created a great deal of resistance, and Wang Lin felt like he was in mud. After realizing this, his expression was calm, and the origin energy in his body slowed down until it was almost motionless. Then, at the next instant, it exploded. It went from being still to max in an instant. This change caused a powerful momentum to explode form Wang Lin's body. It also caused a rumble around him that could collapse the heavens. Boom! As the violent sound echoed, the space before Wang Lin suddenly twisted. Everything before him quickly collapsed as he calmly walked forward. Wang Lin arrived near the roaring wood and stepped onto it without any resistance. At this instant, all the eyes of all the cultivators around the giant wood narrowed. Although they all knew how fierce Wang Lin was, personally witnessing it had shocked them. Wang Lin didn't know that stepping on the giant wood represented an extremely high status. As long as one believed they were qualified, they could attempt to step onto the giant wood. However, very few people were able to step onto the giant wood. Even most of the people on the giant wood had used magic treasures along with spells to barely be able to step on after painstaking effort. Even so, none of the surrounding cultivators dared to underestimate those people. Anyone who could step on the giant wood was strong. However, a huge wave was set off in the hearts of the surrounding tens of thousands of cultivators when Wang Lin stepped onto the giant wood. Wang Lin was able to just casually step onto the giant wood without any effort at all. From what they had seen, aside from Li Yunzi and the Shengong family ancestor, only 3 others were able to step onto the giant wood so easily. Wang Lin was the 4th person. Thunder Celestial Shu Mu, indeed worthy of the fame. At that instant, similar thoughts appeared in the surrounding cultivators. The people on the giant wood all looked at Wang Lin. All these gazes were different. Some of them were part of the celestial bestowment, so they already admired Wang Lin. As for the people who hadn't met Wang Lin, their minds were shaken and they finally understood Wang Lin's fierceness. The youth with 3 bamboo flutes suddenly opened his eyes and carefully looked at Wang Lin. He nodded but didn't speak. The woman in the palace dress smiled even more. As for the old man in black, the way he looked at Wang Lin changed slightly. The 3 of them had high cultivation levels. They were at the late stage of Nirvana Scryer, so they had better vision than everyone else. They could tell at a glance that what Wang Lin did was extraordinary. This explosion of power wasn't only origin energy. There was also a hint of law. The 3 of them clearly saw this point and placed more importance on Wang Lin. Although his cultivation was weaker than them, but they considered him on the same level. After all, not many Nirvana Scryer cultivators comprehend law. Strength rules supreme in the cultivation world. If you want recognition of others, then you must reach the same level as them. Standing beside Li Yunzi, Wang Lin respectfully said, "Shu Mu greets Senior Li Yunzi." After he spoke, he turned around and clasped his hands at the Shengong family ancestor. Li Yunzi faintly smiled. Just as he was about to speak, his expression changed. Behind the giant wood, the moongazer serpent with countless swaying tentacles suddenly began to roar as if it had gone crazy. Its eyes alternated between confusion and clarity as it stared at Wang Lin on the giant wood. Its roars became even stronger. The powerful sound waves echoed, causing the expressions of the cultivators around the giant wood to change greatly and their minds to tremble. Wang Lin turned around and coldly looked at the moongazer serpent. Wang Lin wasn't surprised that the moongazer serpent recognized him. He understood the moongazer serpent very well. that it had a strong memory of people who had made it mad. It obviously remembered Wang Lin, who had provoked it twice. As it raged, it was about to charge out. The tentacles around it extended like crazy toward the giant wood. Li Yunzi frowned and his right hand reached toward the void. A rift opened up and a green jade flew out. This jade was very ordinary. There was nothing abnormal about it. Li Yunzi grabbed it and threw it at the moongazer serpent. It was so fast that it closed in on the moongazer serpent in an instant. The jade collapsed, and a thunderous voice echoed. Shun Yung Gu. This sound was very strange and extremely complex. No surrounding cultivator could understand it. But Wang Lin's heart was shocked as this was the language of the ancient gods. After understanding the meaning behind it, even with Wang Lin's mental strength, his expression couldn't help but change. A grand chapter. Not caring to read 4,500 words, can bear to split it into 2 chapters. As the donkey dies a martyr, tears flow wishing for the like button for the video. Chapter 922. Xianxia. Continue ahead and destroy the realm under the rain celestial realm. I'll give you a body, help you escape. This was the information expressed in the ancient god language. The confusion in the moongazer serpent was replaced by clarity, and the roar slowly subsided. It actually charged ahead of the giant wood. From a distance, the moongazer serpent's giant body and its countless swaying tentacles looked like the waste clouds that shrouded the stars, and it was no less imposing than the giant wood. Li Yunzi looked at Wang Lin. He felt a hint of suspicion after seeing Wang Lin's change in expression when the sound came from the jade. Wang Lin had cultivated for thousands of years and was extremely cunning. He wouldn't let anything escape, so he let out a wry smile and said, I didn't expect that beast to hold such a grudge. I just borrowed it to kill the Yao family, and yet it still remembered me when it saw me. Li Yunzi nodded and said, after this battle has ended, don't forget to come to me to see the remaining battle scrolls. With a respectful expression, Wang Lin said, Junior knows. The Shenggong family ancestor had not spoken until now when he suddenly said, Shu Mu, take out Shenggong Hu's Dao. Wang Lin silently pondered. A moment later, without hesitation, he touched between his eyebrows and Shenggong Hu's Dao flew out. The Shenggong family ancestor grabbed it and looked at it before he put it away. He no longer paid any attention to Wang Lin, but instead looked ahead. The moongazer serpent opened the path at an extremely fast pace. Its countless tentacles spread out and wrapped any alliance cultivator it encountered. The cultivators that were caught would scream and their bodies would wither until they became mummies. Then the Heaven cultivators would go to these mummified cultivators to take their bags of holding and treasures. The giant wood followed closely after the moongazer serpent toward the northern region. The moongazer serpent and giant wood were extremely fast, far faster than cultivators' treasures. Their speed was comparable to teleportation. They created constant sonic booms as they whistled through space. At this moment, a giant war began in the northern region. Originally, the Alliance cultivators, who were led by one of the 4 saints, Black Fiend Devil Saint, held great advantage. Destroying the western region had killed a large amount of Heaven cultivators and also cut off their retreat. This caused the Heaven army that charged into the northern region to have no backup. As a result, the Alliance held the highest chance of winning in the first big battle between the 2 star systems. However, Master Flamespark's counterattack and the Lu Fu immediately reversed the situation in the northern region. The Alliance cultivators were suppressed by the Lu Fu. This wasn't even the biggest problem. The biggest problem was that the isolation of the Heaven cultivators was broken by the giant wood. As a result, the Heaven cultivators were no longer isolated. They only needed to last until backup arrived. Then the Heaven side would hold the absolute advantage. Black Fiend Devil Saint's expression was gloomy. How could he let Master Flamespark do as he wished? However, Blood God was someone with a very high cultivation level. As the 2 fought, the collisions of their spells were earth-shattering, and the rumbles echoed across the stars. This created a large amount of ripples. Any cultivators affected would immediately die. Fellow cultivator, don't wait for me to make a fool of myself. Just attack. As Black Fiend Devil Saint Riley smiled, he waved his right hand. Large amounts of fishy-smelling wind appeared. As his hands moved, the fishy wind turned into a giant whale before his body. The giant whale opened its mouth and mercilessly inhaled. The origin energy in the world was sucked into the giant whale formed by Black Fiend Devil Saint like crazy, and then attacked Blood God. At the same time, a pillar of purple light descended from above. There was no end to this pillar, and it seemed to have appeared out of thin air. A laugh came from the pillar of light and a person walked out. This person was middle-aged and wore a yellow robe. He looked handsome, and as he came out, 2 dragon illusions circled around his body and roared. Master Flamespark, I have known your name for a long time. This old man is one of the new saints of the Alliance, Cloud Dragon Demon Saint. Master Flamespark's eyes lit up, but he didn't attack. However, the ancestors of the cultivation families from ancient times moved. All 3 of them charged out toward the Cloud Dragon Demon Saint. The 4 saints of the Cultivation Alliance are all at the mid-stage of Nirvana Shatterer. Blood God's cultivation is undetermined, and he is able to battle one on his own. The other 3 fellow cultivators are only at the early stage of Nirvana Shatterer, so they must join forces to barely hold on. However, these people aren't the most powerful people in this battle. Master Flamespark's eyes lit up, but he didn't look at the yellow-robed Cloud Dragon Demon Saint. Instead, he stared at the void before him and calmly said, "The Alliance's 4 saints never move alone. Xianxia, why do you still hide yourself?" As Master Flamespark spoke, he moved forward and appeared next to the Lu Fu. Then his 2 fingers mercilessly pointed forward. A burst of sharp laughter echoed across the stars. Countless cracks appeared where Master Flamespark pointed at, and a hand as white as jade came out. This dazzling palm collided with Master Flamespark's fingers. Bang. The entire northern region shook and killing intent flashed across Master Flamespark's eyes. He quickly retreated several steps. Another figure was also knocked back from the crack, and this figure looked like a woman. As this person retreated, they immediately screamed, "Master Flamespark, you still have the guts to return." This voice was too sharp and harsh. It also contained unimaginable origin energy fluctuations. As the voice echoed, the All-Heaven cultivators all trembled. Some of them coughed out blood as their origin energy left their bodies, and they immediately died. Even one of the 18 Lu Fu suddenly collapsed under this sharp scream. Endless origin energy from the world came from the collapsed cultivators and even from the collapsed Lu Fu and entered the woman-like figure. "Xianxia, I haven't seen you for many years. You still as effeminate as ever." Master Flamespark's eyes were calm and he waved his right hand. Endless flames immediately surrounded the area, and as they spread, all the All-Heaven cultivators were pushed more than 5 kilometers away. Although it was 5,000 kilometers, it was still within the range of the Lu Fu. Just like this, the Great War began. Large amounts of Alliance and All-Heaven cultivators began their life and death battles. This was a chaotic battle. If one was slightly careless, their body would collapse and their origin soul would be extinguished. Originally, the All-Heaven cultivators were no match for the Alliance cultivators. After all, one side was recovering from shock and the other side was prepared. However, under the effect of the Lu Fu, the situation was immediately balanced. As a result, it was difficult to see who was going to win. However, on a small scale, the Alliance held the advantage. Bursts of magic treasures filled the area. In the chaotic battle, both sides had casualties. In the distance, an Alliance cultivator coughed out blood and retreated. But before he even retreated 100 feet, his chest was pierced by a random flying sword. Then his origin soul flew out and was immediately affected by the ripples of a spell, causing his origin soul to collapse. 3 All-Heaven cultivators' eyes were red as they activated their cultivation to the max to control magic treasures. Just as they were using a spell, a ray of light penetrated the 3 of them, and they died one by one. The ray of light turned into a person, and he had a gloomy expression. Just as he was about to continue after licking his lips, there was a flash of bloodlight. He let out a scream, and then his whole body turned into blood. It was Blood God and the Black Fiend Devil Saint passing by during their battle. Every time someone died, the blood would be immediately sucked away by the Lu Fu. Some of the origin souls were also sucked in by the Lu Fu because they were too damaged. Cultivators were dying at every moment. The 2 sides had tens of thousands of cultivators gathered here. This battle could be described as earth-shattering, and large amounts of blood were sucked in by the Lu Fu. Endless flashes of magic treasure light flashed by, and endless roars coupled with mournful voices filled the area. This had become a land of death. Large amounts of blood and origin souls were absorbed by the Lu Fu, making them even more demoic. As the battle became even more fierce, a thunderous rumble echoed and countless cracks appeared. Even the cold wind from the cracks wasn't able to put out this heated war. Instead, it made this chaotic battle even more intense. At the center of the battlefield, Master Flamespark's flame was monstrous, and from afar, it seemed to light up half of the area. Opposite of him, Xianxia gave off an endless chill that created cracking sounds. They weren't loud, but everyone in the surrounding battlefield could clearly hear them. Along with these endless crackling sounds, countless glaciers appeared. They were extremely imposing and shot straight up. Xianxia was surrounded by countless glaciers that were like sharp thorns pointed at the sky and faced off against Master Flamespark. Master Flamespark, we let you escape in the battle tens of thousands of years ago. Today, without Zhongshuanzi, I'll kill you here and now. Xianxia's sharp voice was like an icy blade. It was filled with endless chill and killing intent. This Xianxia looked like a very enchanting woman. However, if one looked closer, one would find that this person's chest was flat, and although small, his Adam's apple was there. He was apparently a man. Master Flamespark's eyes were calm as he raised his right hand and reached out toward the void. The world's origin energy gathered like crazy and formed a ball of white flame in his hand. He looked at Xianxia and slowly said, "When I left, I said that if there was a day I come back, I'll make the cultivation alliance extinct. Who cares if blood fills the sky after I die?" At this moment in the western region, with the moongazer serpent in front and the giant wood behind it, they closed in on the northern region. On the giant wood, Wang Lin looked ahead. There were flashes of uncertainty in Wang Lin's eyes, especially when he looked at the moongazer serpent. Ancient godchild, there was an almost indiscernible flash of cold light in Wang Lin's eyes. Big brothers and little sisters, do you still have likes for the video? Wishing for the like button for the video to help. Chapter 923. Expression Sincerity. Master Flamespark didn't throw the white ball of flame but ruthlessly crushed it. The ball of flame collapsed and turned into countless phoenixes. They let out bursts of cries and shot straight toward Xianxia. Xianxia waved his arms and let out a sharp laugh. The endless glaciers that had formed behind him began to rumble as they moved forward. The two didn't stop. They began displaying various spells. Origin energy fluctuated as if heaven and earth were going to reverse, and these fluctuations quickly spread. The entire northern region entered a chaotic battle. Master Flamespark's eyes lit up and he waved his right hand. Several celestial realm fragments appeared and he shouted, "Celestial wheel!" With these words, the celestial fragments around him began to rumble and rotate around him. A storm was suddenly set by this. As the storm swept by, all the cultivators affected were forced to retreat. Xianxia's expression became gloomy as he raised his hand up and shouted, "Law of Ice!" In an instant, endless cold energy spread like crazy from his hand. Under the endless rumbles, countless glaciers shot out and rapidly spread toward Master Flamespark. Ice. Killing intent flashed across Xianxia's eyes as he pointed at Master Flamespark. At this moment, a powerful chill appeared around Master Flamespark. This chill contained law, and in the blink of an eye, it formed layers of ice that trapped Master Flamespark inside. Just at this moment, the roar of the moongazer serpent echoed across the stars. The roar of the moongazer serpent shook the world and seemed to make it shake before everyone's eyes. This scene caused the expressions of the Alliance side to change. Black Fiend Devil Saint and Cloud Dragon Demon Saint, who were battling against Blood God and company, became gloomy and quickly retreated. Xianxia let out a cold snort and his eyes lit up. Instead of backing up, he charged straight ahead at Master Flamespark, who was trapped in the ice. When he got close, he pressed his hands down on the ice without any hesitation. At this moment, a destructive force charged into the ice. This force mysteriously stacked together and charged toward Master Flamespark. Just at this moment, inside the ice, Master Flamespark's eyes revealed a cold glint, and he revealed a smile. The cultivation he had hidden began to erupt like crazy and increased from the late stage of Nirvana Shatterer to an incredible level. You broke through! Xianxia's expression changed greatly, and he was about to retreat without hesitation. Cracks appeared on the ice that trapped Master Flamespark and suddenly covered all the ice. Then, in the blink of an eye, the ice shattered, and the countless pieces shot out in all directions. Master Flamespark laughed, took a step, and merged with the world. He didn't move, but the moment he merged with the world, his origin energy spread out like crazy. At this moment, the origin energy in the world began to vibrate violently and directly interfered with spatial bending. At the same time, Master Flamespark's hand formed a seal and a red flame spread like a roar dragon. Shortly after, Master Flamespark spat out a mouthful of essence origin energy. It landed on the rotating celestial fragments, which completely blocked Xianxia's retreat. The celestial fragments trembled and rotated 10 times faster than before. It charged out and trapped Xianxia inside. The storm formed by the rotating fragments roared, and Xianxia's expression became gloomy. His hand pushed outward, and a large amount of origin energy gathered. He was about to break out. At this moment, Master Flamespark stepped out, and a large amount of flames surged out from his body. He pointed with his finger, and the flames rushed out, surrounding the storm. Some of the flames fused with the storm, and now it looked like a fire dragon. Just at this moment, in the distance, the moongazer serpent arrived as if it was teleporting. It looked extremely ferocious with its countless tentacles. Bursts of roars echoed. For a moment, both sides stopped attacking and retreated, as they stared dumbfoundedly at the scene before them. Black Fiend Devil Saint only took one look at the moongazer serpent, and felt his scalp go numb. He let out a wry smile and quickly retreated. As for the Cloud Dragon Demon Saint, he revealed a look of disbelief. Xianxian was startled. His origin energy surged like crazy, and he wanted to rush out of his siege. However, how could Master Flamespark let him do as he wished? Master Flamespark's arm stretched out, and he injected more origin energy inside the flames to trap Xianxian. In the distant stars, what followed directly after the moongazer serpent was the giant wood. It was extremely large, and it suddenly changed directions, moving toward Master Flamespark and straight at Xianxian. The giant wood hadn't even gotten close when a strange force shrouded the world. Endless rumbles came from it, and it started moving even faster. Xianxian's pupils shrank. He had no way of escaping quickly. In this moment of crisis, both of his hands formed a seal, and he pointed at his body. Each time he pointed, a blue vortex appeared. In an instant, 13 blue vortexes as blue as the sea appeared around his body. After these vortexes appeared, they immediately enlarged and entered Xianxian's body. After the first blue vortex entered his body, a curtain of blue light appeared around Xianxian. After all 13 vortexes entered his body emitted a blinding blue light. There were a total of 13 layers of blue light. This was Xianxian's power of law. The color of the absolute limit of ice was blue, and during Xianxian's life, he was only able to condense 13 layers of blue light. He had always thought that if he could condense the 13 layers into one, his cultivation might have a breakthrough. The moment Xianxian's 13 layers of blue light appeared, the giant wood arrived. The ripples caused by the arrival of the giant wood were indescribable. At this moment, everything disappeared, and the only thing that remained was the momentum of the giant wood that could extinguish anything in its path. No person, magic treasure, item, not even a cultivation planet, could stop its impact or even deal the slightest bit of damage to it. This giant wood was able to support the arrival of the ancient celestial realm. And now everything among the stars must collapse before it. The giant wood arrived with an unimaginable impact, as if it wanted to poke a hole in space. It instantly closed in on the storm Master Flamespark had used to trap Xianxian. It was very simple, without any fancy technique or any flashes of spell. The giant wood directly smashed into the rotating celestial fragments. Bang! One of the fragments collapsed, and its pieces quickly spread. In an instant, the few fragments in the vicinity of where the giant wood crashed also collapsed. The collapse of the fragments was no weaker than the collapse of a cultivation planet. The force of all the collapse fell on Xianxian, who was trapped inside. The endless impact turned into a violent storm that pushed in all directions. The blue light flashed violently around Xianxian. Just as the force from the collapsing fragment started spreading out, the giant wood collided with Xianxian. Bang! Xianxian's body trembled, and one layer of blue light around him immediately collapsed. This didn't end. The moment the giant wood collided, an endless impact charged out like crazy. It was as if waves of powerful impacts were charging into Xianxian's body. Bang, 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 bang. The blue lights around Xianxia collapsed one by one, and in an instant, 6 layers had disappeared. His whole body rapidly retreated out of his control. This rapid retreat was caused by the impact of the giant wood. It could even be said that this retreat was just the giant wood pushing him. The moment the giant wood collided with Xianxia, killing intent flashed across Master Flamespark's eyes. Then flames surged around his body, and he mercilessly pressed down on Xianxia. When the flames closed in on Xianxia, 3 more layers of blue light around him collapsed. Aghast filled Xianxia's eyes as everything had happened too fast. 9 layers of blue light had disintegrated in almost an instant. At the moment of life and death, Xianxia wanted to escape, but Li Yunzi and Shenggong family ancestor both stepped out. Their spells turned into endless forces that landed on Xianxia's body. Xianxia was hit by the giant wood, Master Flamespark, Li Yunzi, and the Shenggong family ancestor. All of their spells were extremely powerful, not to mention Master Flamespark's, whose cultivation level was above Xianxia's. Before these attacks, Xianxia almost lost his wits. However, he was, after all, an old monster that had been famous for tens of thousands of years in a life of slaughter. Although this was a moment of crisis, he wasn't going to die so easily. Facing this moment of crisis, Xianxia let out a laugh and decisively exploded the remaining 4 layers of blue light around him. A thunderous rumble echoed when the 4 layers of blue light exploded. Li Yunzi was pushed back by the impact along with the Shenggong family ancestor. Even Master Flamespark hesitated before he let out a sigh and retreated. Although he could kill Xianxia, he would be injured in the process. That would be a big disadvantage in the Alliance star system. After shaking off the 3 powerful cultivators, Xianxia's face was pale and he coughed out a mouthful of blood. He had used the explosion of the blue intent's explosion to retreat, and he screamed, "Master Flamespark, if this old man doesn't get his revenge, then I am not a person." Behind him was the moongazer serpent. He reached toward the void and cracks appeared. At this moment, he didn't care if he would be lost in the cracks. He was about to step inside. At this moment, Wang Lin was standing on the giant wood. He was a bit far away, but he was still affected by the impact. The force made the origin energy inside his body unstable. He looked at the rapidly retreating Xianxia and then at Master Flamespark. He then clenched his teeth, pointed forward and shouted, "Stop!" Just in time to keep the manuscript. Tonight's update might not be timely. If there's no second watch tonight, Leo will supplement tomorrow. However, Leo will try his best to finish today. Chapter 924. Big Achievement. With just the word "stop," the origin energy inside Wang Lin's body moved to his right fingertip and entered the void. This time, Wang Lin didn't use the little remaining celestial origin energy he had left, only his own origin energy. It was as if countless lines had spread across space and entangled themselves around Xianxia in an instant. This was the weakest Xianxia had ever been in his entire life. All 13 layers of blue light had collapsed, so he had to leave his as soon as possible to find a place to recover. Or else he would without a doubt die. He had already been a decisive person. He had exploded 4 layers of blue light just to create an opening to escape. He had to report the fact that Master Flamespark's cultivation had broken through the late stage of Nirvana Shatterer to Zhongshuanzi. Master Flamespark's cultivation hasn't reached the 3rd step, but he is far stronger than late-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivators. He must have reached the peak of the 2nd step. Just as he was about to step into the crack, Xianxia felt countless invisible threads wrap around him. His right foot, which was making its way into the crack, couldn't help but slow down for a moment. A binding force with only this much strength was something he normally wouldn't need to worry about. He only needed to move a bit to break these threads, and even cause the Casa's origin soul to shatter. However, at this moment of crisis, if he was slowed for just a little bit, the result would be beyond imagination. Xianxia's expression changed greatly. As for Master Flamespark, he was startled for a moment, but then ecstasy filled his eyes. He stepped out without hesitation and arrived near Xianxia. His right hand pressed down and landed on Xianxia's body. This forced Xianxia out from the crack. Just as Xianxia was forced out from the crack, the moongazer serpent suddenly opened its mouth and mercilessly swallowed. All of this happened too fast. At almost the instant Xianxia was forced out, the moongazer serpent arrived. Xianxia let out an angry roar when he was being swallowed by the moongazer serpent. The moment the stop spell fell on Xianxia, Wang Lin's body trembled, and he coughed out a large mouthful of blood. It was as if he had been hit by a powerful force, and he quickly backed up. The origin energy in his body almost collapsed. The difference between his and Xianxia's cultivation was too large. At this moment, the force caused popping sounds to come from all over his body, and a large amount of blood mist gushed out. Wang Lin let out a miserable shout as he retreated. Senior Master Flamespark Jr. has done his best. The reason he did this was to improve his own achievement before everyone. This would make Master Flamespark owe him a great debt. At the same time, it was big reason for him to receive Alheaven's full protection. This was a true expression of sincerity. With this achievement, no matter where or when, he, Wang Lin, would be the highest profile hero in the war between the two systems. No one could erase this point, or forget it. If Wang Lin were to fall into a difficult situation and Alheaven didn't help, then it would have a very negative effect on Alheaven. If that happened, who would give it their all in the battles that followed? Wang Lin had calculated all of this. With the combination of his cultivation and the body of an ancient god, perhaps if the other party was at their peak, he might have died to the backlash. But given that Xianxia was seriously injured and escaping, even if he failed, he wouldn't die from the backlash. Sometimes when there are no more paths left, you have gamble and create a road. At this moment, Wang Lin was opening up a road for himself in the future. In truth, Wang Lin's guess was very accurate. If he didn't have the body of an ancient god, he would have died. However, with the body of an ancient god and Xianxia being in an extremely weakened state, he was only injured. As Master Flamespark laughed, his body flickered and he charged straight at Wang Lin. In almost an instant, he arrived near Wang Lin's constantly retreating body, and his palm landed on Wang Lin's back. An unimaginable, powerful surge of origin energy suddenly rushed from Master Flamespark's body into Wang Lin's. It immediately stabilized Wang Lin's origin energy and got rid of his injuries. In addition, the powerful origin energy that entered Wang Lin's body was cut off by Master Flamespark, so it all remained inside Wang Lin's body. At this instant, Wang Lin felt the origin energy explode within his body. His origin soul opened its eyes and absorbed the origin energy like crazy. He felt his own strength climb like crazy. In the end, his cultivation reached the peak of the early stage of Nirvana Scryer. He only needed comprehension in his domain to become a mid-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivator. This time, Master Flamespark didn't hold back and gave Wang Lin an unimaginably great fortune. It was too difficult for second-step cultivators to increase their cultivation level. Aside from comprehending their domain, they also had to absorb enough origin energy. Just this would consume countless years. Master Flamespark withdrew his hand as he looked at Wang Lin and laughed. Good, good, good. Shumu, you have attained a great achievement. Xianxia was one of the 4 saints of the Alliance. Back then, he was ranked 9th in the Alliance. You have achieved a great merit. All heaven and I will remember this. Master Flamespark let out a satisfied laugh. This Xianxia was one of the people who hunted him back then. This sudden change in scene made the surrounding cultivators look on with strange expressions. In particular, Li Yunzi and the Shenggong family ancestor looked at Wang Lin differently now. Li Yunzi's eyes revealed admiration and he nodded at Wang Lin. The Shenggong family ancestor had always been cold, but right now he revealed a smile at Wang Lin. As for the other cultivators, the black-robed old man and the youth had a complex gazes, but even more so, they admit their defeat. If it was them, they definitely wouldn't have had the resolve to do this. There was also that woman in the palace dress. She now looked at Wang Lin with a hint of interest. She was already beautiful, so now that she showed this kind of gaze, it was extremely attractive. Shumu, after this war is over, not only will this old man return your Thunder Beast, I will also gift you a defensive treasure. With this treasure, aside from a few select people in the Alliance, no one else will be able to threaten your life. Master Flamespark smiled as he charged ahead at Black Fiend Devil Saint and Cloud Dragon Demon Saint. With a calm expression, Wang Lin activated the origin energy in his body. He immediately felt his own strength return, and he took a deep breath. He had gambled on the right move just now. The giant wood was still charging into the northern region battlefield, and the Alliance cultivators were being pushed back. When Xianxia was devoured by the moongazer serpent, all the Alliance cultivators were shaken, and their will to fight had diminished greatly. The moongazer serpent roared like crazy, and its tentacles swept the area. Any cultivator that was touched by the tentacles would let out a miserable scream and be sucked dry. The moongazer serpent was too strong. Black Fiend Devil Saint and Cloud Dragon Demon Saint were both constantly retreating. Both of their minds were shaken, and they no longer had the will to continue to battle. They were about to flee. But an impact no weaker than the giant wood S suddenly approached from the distance in the northern region. Countless towers, each one tens of thousands of feet tall, charged over with hundreds of cultivators standing on each. Their powerful killing intent was enough to tear the nearby space. From a distance, the stars were filled with these towers. There were no less than 100 of these cone towers that emitted sharp whistles as they rushed over. A powerful pressure suddenly came from the distance. Aside from the 100 towers, there were also 4 giant cultivation planets. There were 4 giants tens of thousands of feet tall carrying the cultivation planets. These 4 giants each had an axe mark on their foreheads. They were giant demon clan members. There were 4 people floating above the cultivation planets carried by the 4 members of the giant demon clan. 3 of them were old men with the air of celestials. Their might was clearly felt without any need for them to show anger. The last person was a woman. She wore a blue dress and her hair was hanging over her shoulder. She held an 8-petal lotus flower and her phoenix eyes were filled with killing intent as she looked ahead. The appearance of these Alliance cultivators attracted the attention of the surrounding cultivators. The Alliance cultivators were surprised and quickly rallied as they retreated. On the Al-Heaven side, Blood God and the 3 ancestors coldly looked over. Master Flamespark stepped out and waved his right hand, sending a sea of flames flying ahead. At the same time, the moongazer serpent let out a roar and its tentacles extended. As for the tens of thousands of cultivators around the giant wood, they immediately charged out and used their magic treasures. A great war was about to unfold. Just at this moment, the woman in the blue dress calmly said, "Greeting, Senior Wudo-chan." After she spoke, a long laugh came from the distance, and a black cloud rushed over from the same direction. There was a person standing in the black cloud. This person was middle-aged, had a square face, and wore a purple robe that showed his might without him expressing any anger. At this moment, black mist around him churned, and a thunderous rumble echoed. "Master Flamespark, I have long known your name. Today, do you dare to battle with me, Wudo-chan?" The middle-aged man's words were extremely arrogant. As he spoke, the black mist under his feet shot out toward Master Flamespark. Master Flamespark had no memories of this Wudo-chan. It was obvious this person had joined the Alliance after he left, but Master Flamespark didn't underestimate this person. The aura this person gave off made him very serious. "If you want to battle, then let us battle." As Master Flamespark's cold voice echoed, he stepped out and entered the black mist. This black mist suddenly rose up and began to churn violently. Bursts of fire spells shot out and created explosions. "Seal this moongazer serpent," the woman in the blue dress calmly spoke. The hundreds of towers immediately shot out, creating a whistling sound as their speed was 100 times faster than before. They were like swords that shot directly at the moongazer serpent. Wang Lin secretly realized that things were going bad. It seemed Al-Heaven was the weaker side. He silently moved back on the giant wood, but he immediately felt a fierce gaze on his body. It was the woman in the blue dress who was looking at Wang Lin with a complex gaze. "Reading so much. Besides, the golden keyboard is active. I ask everyone to support a bit more, not just words of support. I'm afraid I can't even carry the last 3. Chapter 925 Million Beast Blood Soul Seal." Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and met the gaze of the woman in the blue dress. Wang Lin had never seen her before, and she didn't feel familiar at all. However, her gaze made him feel a bit puzzled. Right now was not the moment to ponder this. Wang Lin's expression remained neutral as he continued to retreat. The 100 towers closed in with sharp whistles that wanted to tear open the world and shot straight for the moongazer serpent. These tall towers were like swords piercing through space. The moongazer serpent let out an angry roar as its countless tentacles reached out toward the incoming towers. At this moment, the fastest tower closed in and was caught by a tentacle. The moment they touched, the tower immediately shattered into black powder that spread out. As for the Alliance cultivators on the tower, They had already jumped off when the tower got close to the moongazer serpent. Shortly after, more towers arrived while whistling. Most of them were caught by the moongazer serpent's tentacles and exploded into black powder. As the black powder spread out, the remaining towers moved several times faster. They were like swords that penetrated the black powder, dodged the tentacles, and directly pierced the moongazer serpent's body. Bang! Loud explosions echoed when the towers collided with the moongazer serpent. Cracks appeared at the tips of the towers and rapidly spread. In the blink of an eye, the towers were covered in cracks and then collapsed into powder. Bang, 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 bang. The explosions echoed as the towers that were in T stopped by the tentacles collided with the moongazer serpent's body and turned into powder. During this process, the moongazer serpent roared as if it was crazy and its tentacles swept the area. Some of the surrounding cultivators weren't able to dodge quickly enough and died. Zeal. The voice of the woman in the blue dress was gentle, but it clearly echoed across the stars. In an instant, all the black powder around the moongazer serpent gave off a demonic glow. The powder spread out and formed a sphere around the moongazer serpent. There were bright bloodlights inside the sphere, and at this moment, an extremely shocking scene was unfolding on 100 planets scattered across the eastern, southern, and northern parts of the Alliance. On one of the planets, almost all of the cultivators had been mobilized. They had captured demonic beasts from their habitats. All the demonic beasts were imprisoned in a very large formation. This formation was a circle with a radius of 5,000 kilometers. Demonic beasts were densely packed within the formation. There were at least tens of thousands of them. Large amounts of cultivators floated in the sky outside the formation as if they were waiting for a command. There was a red-haired elder with them who apparently had high status. The surrounding cultivators moved with him as the center. When the woman in the blue dress gave the command, her voice seemed to be able to penetrate the void and travel across the stars due to a special spell to let the people present hear the command. In an instant, the red-haired elder's eyes lit up and he waved his right hand. With a wave of his arm, all the surrounding cultivators launched an orderly attack of spells and magic treasures at the tens of thousands of demonic beasts below them. Waves of miserable roars echoed within this formation, and it became a sea of blood. The formation activated and completely absorbed the blood of these tens of thousands of demonic beasts clean. This scene occurred in nearly 100 other planets. This was one of the 10 great formations in the Alliance, the Million Beast Blood Soul Seal. These nearly 100 towers were made with a special material to go along with this formation. At this moment, as the millions of beasts died on those 100 planets, the black powder surrounding the moongazer serpent gave off a powerful smell of blood. This smell of blood was too dense. If one were to smell it, their heart would tremble. The black powder began to move mysteriously under this dense scent of blood. The powder began to solidify, and the moongazer serpent was completely sealed under this black earth-like material. The black powder outside the moongazer serpent solidified into a huge ball that trapped the moongazer serpent inside. Only its muffled roars continued to spread and echo among the stars. At this moment, the tens of thousands of Alliance cultivators that had jumped off the towers before they collapsed all charged toward the Al-Heaven cultivators. This scene shocked the Al-Heaven cultivators. Li Yunzi and the Shenggong family ancestor looked at each other and then immediately jumped off the giant wood. Li Yunzi's right hand reached out to the void and the world's origin energy gathered. It condensed into almost 100 small flags. He and the Shenggong family ancestor were the two with the highest statuses here aside from the Xiang family ancestor and the middle-aged man from the Gongsun family. Before those two left, they temporarily handed command to Li Yunzi and the Shenggong family ancestor. Li Yunzi was burdened with an extremely important mission. He grabbed a portion of the flags and threw them to the side as he shouted, 72 Earth Celestials, gather your teams and exterminate all the Alliance cultivators. Order received. Dozens of All-Heaven cultivators immediately flew out. They were the Earth Celestials from the 108 Celestials, but not all of them were here. They grabbed their flags and led their teams into a chaotic battle with the Alliance cultivators that got off the towers. An instant later, bursts of rumbles and endless sounds of magic treasures echoed among the stars. Their endless flashes of light set off a monstrous slaughter intent. The Shenggong family ancestor also grabbed dozens of small flags and threw them. He shouted, 36 Heaven Celestials, help me break the seal on the moon beast. After he spoke, he took a step and charged toward the seal. Behind him were dozens of cultivators along with their own respective teams. The big-headed boy was among them. "Shu Mu, the four of you guard me." Li Yunzi's gaze swept past Wang Lin, the woman in the palace dress, the black-robed old man, and the youth in white before he sat down on the giant wood. The wood shook and abruptly stopped in the sky. Li Yunzi sat down, and then his hands formed a seal and he pointed to the spot between his eyebrows. His origin soul rushed out, and outside his origin soul were the 3 battle scrolls. They started circling around him. Li Yunzi's origin soul pointed at one of the battle scrolls and sent out a thunderous wave of divine sense. As this divine sense spread out, one of the 17 Lufu suddenly exploded and a bloody figure walked out. This bloody figure was a man made of blood. After it appeared, it let out a roar and charged into the battle. Blood God and company weren't idling either. Black Fiend Devil Saint and Cloud Dragon Demon Saint were attacking Blood God and company. The two sides had opened up a new battlefield, and it was difficult to gain an advantage for either side. The Blood Person went toward the battlefield of Blood God and Black Fiend Devil Saint. The moment the Blood Person arrived, Black Fiend Devil Saint was forced into a sorry state and had to retreat. Li Yunzi's origin soul trembled, and then he immediately sat down to recover. Although his cultivation wasn't as powerful as Master Flamespark and Company S, even inferior to Blood God S, his role in the battle between Al-Heaven and Alliance was great. The 18 Lufu didn't belong to his Zhan family, but only his Zhan family had the spell to control them. It couldn't be passed to outsiders. Only a few people from the Zhan family could use it. This spell came from a sliver of comprehension and inheritance from the battle scrolls. Although this matter sounds complicated, it was one of the secrets in the Al-Heaven star system. Don't allow the person from the Zhan family touch the Lufu blood balls. However, this secret was broken during the preparations for the war against the Alliance. Master Flamespark, the Shang family ancestor, the middle-aged man from the Gongsun family, and several old monsters had all decided to let Li Yunzi control the 18 Lufu. As soon as Li Yunzi's origin soul recovered slightly, he pointed at another battle scroll. His divine sense entered the battle scroll and turned into an incredible wave that swept across the stars. One of the 16 remaining Lufu exploded into countless drops of blood and formed another Blood Person. This Blood Person let out a roar and charged straight toward where the Shengong family ancestor was battling the seal that was holding the Moongazer's serpent. Among the Alliance cultivators, the woman in the blue dress frowned. She pointed with her jade-like hand, and one of the giant demon clan members let out a roar and stepped forward. The cultivation planet he was carrying wasn't very large, only about 1% of a normal cultivation planet. Nevertheless, the giant demon clan member was really insignificant compared to it. However, the giant demon clan member was very fast, and as he ran, he mercilessly threw it. The cultivation planet directly came crashing down toward the remaining 15 Lufu. There was still an old man floating on the cultivation planet. His eyes lit up as he quickly approached the 15 Lufu along with the cultivation planet. However, the suppression force became even stronger the closer you were to the Lufu. The old man's expression became serious as he rapidly approached the 15 Lufu. As for the giant demon clan member, he let out a roar and charged at Li Yunzi. Li Yunzi's origin soul floated there and looked slightly bleak. He suddenly opened his eyes and shouted, "Lu Hong, Zhou Xingqian, the two of you, quickly go protect the Lufu." Fans celebrating the new year, please join the VIDEEO fan battle team. If you need to complete a mission, Leo can praise everyone in the chapter narration. Chapter 926, Self-Destruction of a 10,000-Foot Giant Demon Clan. After he spoke, the black-robed old man and the white-robed youth charged out and went toward the Lufu. The Lufu had great influence on the Alliance cultivators, but not only did they not affect these two, they helped them greatly. They rushed over and immediately used their spells to protect them. Li Yunzi clenched his teeth and pointed at another battle scroll. When his divine sense entered it, one of the 15 Lufu collapsed into a Blood Person to battle the old man on the cultivation planet. At this moment, the 10,000-foot giant demon clan member rushed over. If it met any Al-Heaven cultivators weaker than him, he would grab them and crush them with a roar before swallowing them. This 10,000-foot giant demon clan member was at the peak of the corporeal Yang stage. But this body was too strong, and thus could absorb a lot more origin energy than normal cultivators. Although he was only at the peak of the corporeal yang stage, he could battle against ordinary early-stage nirvana scryer cultivators. With how strong his body was, he wasn't too afraid of most magic treasures. Right now, the giant charged straight for Li Yunzi on the giant wood. The giant's eyes were cloudy, and there was a hint of madness in them. He wants to self-destruct. A very beautiful voice appeared next to Wang Lin's ear. It was the woman in the palace dress who spoke as the giant approached rapidly. Wang Lin nodded and looked at Li Yunzi's origin soul. The origin soul was currently recovering to summon another blood person. Li Yunzi couldn't be disturbed right now. However, Wang Lin didn't believe that Li Yunzi didn't have backup, but this wasn't the moment to test Li Yunzi. As the giant demon clan member got closer and closer, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he calmly said, "Let me." After he spoke, he took a step and charged straight at the giant. The woman in the palace dress smiled gracefully. Although it was a battle, she was still extremely calm. She pulled back some hair behind her ear and smiled at Wang Lin. "Fellow cultivator Shu, be careful." When Wang Lin stepped off the giant wood and exited the giant wood's area of influence, he heard all of the chaos coming from the surrounding battles. As the giant demon clan member approached, he could hear the sonic booms created by the charge. The giant demon clan member charged forward and moved faster and faster. A destructive aura spread out from his body, and in an instant, the giant closed in. His right hand formed a fist, and as he threw the punch, he shouted, "Back off!" The fist arrived, and the wind created by the fist swept by Wang Lin. Although this wind was strong, it couldn't even make Wang Lin take half a step back. With a cold expression, he threw out a punch as well. This scene was extremely strange. The 10,000-foot giant's fist was incomparably huge, while Wang Lin was like an insignificant ant. His fist was even more negligible. However, when the two fists closed, a thunderous rumble echoed, and it became stronger and stronger. It was as if all the sounds before this were preparations for the collision of the two fists. When the two fists came even closer to each other, the thunderous rumbles seemed to replace all sound. The surrounding cultivators only felt a hum echo endlessly in their ears. Time seemed to slow down as the two fists came closer and closer. Then, in just one moment, the two fists collided and a thunderous rumble echoed. This sound was so intense that it caused the countless surrounding cultivators to tremble. It also created an invisible shockwave that spread in all directions. Large amounts of cultivators were interrupted from their battles and quickly retreated. They all looked in terror at the battle between Wang Lin and the giant. The 10,000-foot giant's body trembled violently as he felt an unimaginable force coming from the other party's tiny fist. He coughed out a mouthful of blood and popping sounds echoed from his fist. A moment later, his right fist exploded in a bloody mess. After letting a miserable scream, this 10,000-foot giant wasn't able to withstand his powerful force and was pushed back. The collapse of his body didn't stop. Even though he was part of the giant demon clan, he couldn't withstand Wang Lin's ancient god power. Not only did his right arm disintegrate, a large part of his body also disintegrated. The madness in the giant demon clan member's eyes became even stronger. He let out a roar and a destructive aura surged inside his body, and at that instant, he blew up. The self-destruction of a peak corporeal yang cultivator was very strong, especially when this person had the body of a giant demon clan member. This power was enough to even make Wang Lin frown. Wang Lin's face turned slightly red, and his eyes became even more cold. He forcibly coughed out some blood so people wouldn't suspect him too much. Then his right hand formed a seal and he shouted, "Call the wind!" After he said those words, a black wind appeared in Wang Lin's right hand and turned into two black dragons. The black dragons rushed out, and as they devoured, they also spat out blasts of cold air that could extinguish life. Call the wind was extremely strong, and under the impact of the black dragons, the giant's body was instantly pushed very far away. The two dragons actually devoured the giant's body, which infinitely weakened the power of his self-destruction. Boom! After a loud bang, the 10,000-foot giant demon clan member exploded, causing an immeasurable impact. This caught the attention of the surrounding cultivators. Even the old monsters that were fighting couldn't help but take a look. Wang Lin's face turned slightly pale as he staggered back to the giant wood, as if he was injured. In truth, Killing a 10,000-foot giant demon clan member was not difficult at all for Wang Lin, who had the body of an ancient god. The woman in the palace dress on the giant wood smiled. I admire fellow cultivator Shu's spells. The spell that lets you instantly increase the power of your body is especially shocking. Li Yunzi opened his eyes and revealed admiration, but he didn't speak. He pointed at one of the battle scrolls, and his divine sense entered it. A second later, another of the 14 Lufu quickly shrank. Without collapsing, it condensed into another blood person. This blood person seemed to contain a blood spell that could reverse the heavens. It charged directly at the old man on the cultivation planet that was battling another blood person, the black-robed old man, and the youth in white. In the distance, the woman in the blue dress frowned even harder. She pointed with her jade-like hand, and the other two 10,000-foot giants charged out. One of them went directly toward the Lufu. As for the other, he charged directly toward the giant wood. As this giant demon clan member closed in, the old man on the cultivation planet flew up. Then his hands formed a seal and he pressed down. The cultivation planet between the old man and the giant demon clan member suddenly began to rotate and emit a ripple. The old man began chanting and his eyes lit up. Then his hand pushed down and he shouted, "Cultivation planet fluctuation." After he spoke, the cultivation planet flew by itself and rotated even faster. However, as it rotated, it began to shrink until it was only half its original size. At the same time, a scarlet-red ripple spread out from the cultivation planet. Under the old man's control, it spread ahead at an unimaginable speed. This red ripple was too fast. As it spread out, some Al-Heaven cultivators were affected. They began to tremble, and in an instant, their entire bodies, including their bags of holding, collapsed. This ripple shot straight toward the giant wood. Wang Lin's expression changed, and Li Yunzi opened his eyes and shouted, "Shumu Ziyan, the two of you quickly scatter. Do your own things, and don't bother guarding this old man." Even without Li Yunzi giving the command, Wang Lin had already moved the moment Li Yunzi spoke. He charged off the giant wood, and quickly left this place with one teleportation. The woman in the palace dress was the same and quickly left. Just as the two of them left, the scarlet-red ripple arrived. Li Yunzi's origin soul wrapped around his body and formed a seal. At this moment, both his origin soul and body disappeared into the giant wood. The scarlet ripple landed on the giant wood and swept by along the giant wood's length. Wang Lin dodged far away from the scarlet-red ripple. However, his surroundings were in complete chaos. The moment he reappeared, a sword from an alliance cultivator swept toward him. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes, and he didn't even dodge. The sword hit his body and bounced off. Then he turned around and pointed. This point contained origin energy and also the power of an ancient god. It landed directly on the person who had sneak attacked him. A gas filled this person's eyes, and just as he was about to retreat, a large amount of blood mist exploded from his body. His origin soul fled in panic, but just then another Al-Heaven cultivator caught his origin soul and crushed it. The Al-Heaven cultivator was filled with killing intent as he looked at Wang Lin. He licked his lips and said in a hoarse voice, "Shumu, why don't the two of us compete again? Let's see who kills more." This Al-Heaven cultivator was Vice Thunder Celestial Zhu Ting. Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he calmly said, "If you really want to compare, then why not see who can kill that woman?" As he spoke, he pointed at the woman in the blue dress. Zhu Ting was startled, and his expression was uncertain. He clenched his teeth and said, "Good, then let us compete with this. We'll both slaughter our way there and see who will succeed." The woman obviously had a very high status, or else she wouldn't be leading this battle. However, this woman's cultivation didn't seem to be that high, only mid-stage of Nirvana Scryer. It's time to double the likes for the VIDEO, wishing for more likes for the VIDEO. Chapter 927, Lord Doesn't He Know Me? Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he sneered in his heart, but he charged forward toward the woman in the blue dress first. Zhu Ting's expression was gloomy as he followed suit. The two of them charged toward the horizon. There were many cultivators killing each other, and all kinds of magic treasures were flying around. Zhu Ting was bloodthirsty. Anytime he encountered someone with a lower cultivation level, he would immediately attack. As a result, he was a bit slower. Wang Lin had more than 1,000 years of experience, so he had easily seen through Shu Ting's intent. He didn't point it out or use the same method as Shu Ting. Instead, his speed didn't fall as he closed in on the woman in the blue dress. During the chaotic battle, the woman in the blue dress clearly saw Wang Lin and Shu Ting's actions. She was calm, but she didn't look at Shu Ting. She only looked at Wang Lin with a cold gaze. Wang Lin moved even faster and faster as he traveled between the cultivators. A moment later, he was already within 1,000 feet of the woman. While letting out a laugh, his right hand formed a fist, and he mercilessly threw a punch. This punch hit the void, and a thunderous roar echoed and countless ripples spread out. It created a powerful shock wave that charged straight at the woman in the blue dress. Wang Lin's figure didn't stop. He charged in right after the shock wave. Not far away from Wang Lin, Shu Ting's eyes lit up and he sneered. Not only did he not move closer, he retreated to the side. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes. Shumu, you have been cultivating for so many years, yet your schemes are only this shallow. This woman obviously has a special status in the alliance, or else she wouldn't be organizing this battle. Although her cultivation level isn't high, she must have a powerful guardian. You want to lure me into killing her? Do you think I am a 3-year-old child? I want to see how you end this. He stared at Wang Lin, who was closing in on the woman in the blue dress, and the sneer on his face became even stronger. Wang Lin didn't slow down and follow the shockwave. The shockwave was earth-shattering and moved like lightning. It arrived 100 feet before the woman in the blue dress. There was a flash of coldness in her eyes. She knew that the giant demon clan member under her couldn't stop this person. However, there was no trace of panic as she calmly lifted her left hand and pressed down on the void below her. Just at this instant, the cultivation planet the giant demon clan member was carrying began to rotate at an incredible speed. Waves of scarlet-red ripples quickly spread out. The scarlet-red ripples contained a destructive aura. As they spread, the cultivation planet shrank at a rate visible to the naked eye. The shockwave created by Wang Lin's punch collided with the scarlet-red ripples. There was a loud bang and the shockwave collapsed. The scarlet-red ripples quickly spread toward Wang Lin without any obstruction. Shu Ting felt ecstasy in his heart as he watched this. This Shumu had really overestimated himself. If he were to die here, it would be a blessing. However, just as Shu Ting was feeling joy, Wang Lin, who was near the scarlet-red ripples, suddenly turned around and looked at Shu Ting with a smile that wasn't a smile. When his expression fell in Shu Ting's eyes, it made Shu Ting tremble. Not good. Shu Ting believed he understood Wang Lin. Seeing Wang Lin make such an expression when he was at a moment of life and death made his mind tremble. Just at this moment, a giant furnace appeared around Wang Lin. The sound of the furnace echoed as Wang Lin's right hand pointed at Shu Ting and he shouted, "Change positions!" In an instant, a power that made Shu Ting lose his wit appeared around him. It didn't give him any time to react, and this power was not something he could resist. The power surrounded his body, and he felt as if time itself had stopped. The scarlet-red ripples were less than 1 foot away from Wang Lin when he suddenly changed positions with Shu Ting. It was as if the world was reversed. At the next instant, time seemed to return back to normal. In truth, time didn't stop at all. It was all an illusion that Shu Ting felt due to the spell being too fast. When he regained his composure, all the hair on his body stood up and a life and death crisis surrounded him. His vision was covered in red, but this wasn't time for him to think. His hands formed a seal and his celestial origin energy surged out like crazy. His body shrank, and in the blink of an eye more than 100 barriers formed around him. These barriers were formed by his celestial origin energy along with a celestial spell his Shu family had passed down. From afar, Shu Ting looked like a sun as he was covered by layers of golden light. The instant the barriers appeared around him, the scarlet-red ripples closed in. Bang, 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 bang. The scarlet ripples were like violent waves that bombarded him non-stop. In an instant, more than 30 of the 100-plus barriers around Shu Ting collapsed. This scene made Shu Ting's scalp go numb, but he didn't idle by. He retreated. As the scarlet-red ripples spread out, dozens more of the barriers around him collapsed. Shumu! Shu Ting let out a roar and his hatred had reached a peak. The scarlet-red ripples were significantly faster than Shu Ting. No matter how far he retreated, The scarlet-red ripples still caught up and passed by. Bang, bang, bang. The moment the scarlet-red ripples passed through Shu Ting, all of the barriers around him collapsed. He felt his body being pulled so hard that it was going to shatter. The moment his barriers collapsed, Shu Ting took out more than 100 jades. Without time to feel heartache for them, he crushed them all, and more than 100 different colored barriers appeared around him. In addition, he took out large amount of treasures to resist the ripples. However, the moment these barriers formed, they immediately collapsed. Even the magic treasure shattered as well. Although this was the case, the scarlet-red ripples had grown weaker after Shu Ting's continued resistance. After all, this wasn't a concentrated attack, it was spread out, so the power was divided by a lot. However, even so, it was not something Shu Ting could resist. After all, he had consumed a lot of celestial origin energy and used a number of magic treasures in the battle. Using this chance, he coughed out blood that contained his celestial origin. The blood diffused around him as he quickly escaped from the scarlet-red ripples. If he had used the blood escape when the ripples were strong, he might not have been able to escape. However, now that the ripples were weakened, he had a chance. He really wasn't willing to use the blood escape unless it was his last resort in the battlefield. Although it was only for a moment, in his mind, the danger he faced was no less than when he faced Wang Lin in one line to heaven. The hatred he had for Wang Lin in his heart was already indescribable. He turned around and roared, "Shumu!" He wanted to use this roar to expose Wang Lin's behavior so that the All-Heaven cultivators and the old monsters would be suspicious of Wang Lin. However, just when he was about to speak, his words were cut off by Wang Lin's laughter. Wang Lin charged out toward the scarlet-red ripples as Shu Ting retreated. At the same time, he laughed. "Fellow cultivator Shu is indeed reliable. Since you helped me weaken the scarlet-red ripples, I, Shu Mu, will naturally not forget. If I can kill this woman, then you will also gain credit for the kill." As Wang Lin spoke, he moved extremely fast. The scarlet-red ripples that made contact with Shu Ting were already weakened. Wang Lin's two fingers formed a sword. Then his ancient god body, plus his origin energy, and the yin and yang fishes collided with the scarlet-red ripples. Bang. After a loud bang, Wang Lin charged inside the scarlet-red ripples without any obstruction. When Shu Ting saw all of this, monstrous anger filled his eyes. The bloodlight around him collapsed due to the anger and he staggered back. The anger injured his mind, causing him to cough out more blood. This mouthful of blood made him sober. He suppressed his anger and revealed a cold gaze before retreating without hesitation. Wang Lin let out a sigh in his heart. This Shu Ting was indeed a character. Although he was angered, he was able to regain clarity rather quickly. He was trying to kill Shu Ting by borrowing someone else's hand. If he had succeeded, it would have been a joyous occasion. Wang Lin had never forgotten that there was still a sliver of source origin energy in Shu Ting's body. Back then, he killed Shu Ting's avatar and took half of that source origin energy. At this moment, he ignored Shu Ting. As Wang Lin charged into the scarlet-red ripples, he stared at the woman in the blue dress. As he moved forward, his right hand formed a seal and pointed at the void, making black wind appear. It surrounded the area and formed a black whirlwind. This whirlwind was extremely powerful, and the roar of a dragon came out from inside it. Then the heads of two dragons peeked out and charged directly at the woman in the blue dress. The woman's expression was still cold, but her gaze toward Wang Lin became complex. "Lord doesn't know me, but I know you." She let out a sigh and looked at the 8-leaf lotus flower. Then her left hand plucked a leaf and gently threw it forward. The leaf flew forward and emitted a fragrance. It rapidly grew until it was hundreds of feet large and gently fell toward Wang Lin. Boom! A loud explosion came from the space 100 feet around Wang Lin. A powerful aura seemed to surround the 100 feet of space around him. It was as if everything inside this space had to collapse. Crackling sounds appeared under Wang Lin's feet and a huge crack appeared. A powerful force came from space as if it was trying to push him into the crack. As usual, 2 chapters at noon, about 10 minutes apart, and 2 more at 8 in the evening, 10 minutes apart. If anything comes up, the other will be informed. Longing for the like button for the video. Chapter 92, Corpse Yin Sect 1. Wang Lin chuckled. he no longer felt much hostility toward the strange blue person. He felt like stretching his body, so he quickly dashed forward like a rabbit. The distance between the two quickly shortened. When the strange blue person saw Wang Lin charging toward him, his eyes locked onto Wang Lin, ready for battle. However, he let out a laugh when he noticed that Wang Lin wasn't using the green sword. He stopped, completely forgetting the reason he came here in the first place, and prepared for battle. Without any hesitation, he ripped off a talisman that released a blue gas. He sucked the blue gas into his body and his aura suddenly became a lot stronger. His eyes revealed a serious expression as he spat out a few words in his strange language, as if he was trying to tell Wang Lin something. Wang Lin knew that the talismans on the blue man were very strange. Even after receiving a heavy injury from Wang Lin, with just one talisman, the blue man was able to completely recover. After that, Wang Lin became very curious about the talismans. Now, the strange man ripped off another yellow talisman, and his strength suddenly doubled. Without a word, Wang Lin waved his hand, his spiritual energy cycled through his body and his aura suddenly changed as well. Slivers of blue energy hovered around him. A cold aura surrounded his body and an extremely cold expression appeared on his face. The strange man's eyes lit up. He opened his mouth and spat out a word that Wang Lin could understand. Strength! With that, he formed a fist. His arm glowed and grew larger as he threw a punch at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. The yin spiritual energy inside his body came out and formed a fist that collided with the strange man's fist in the air. In the moment of impact, the strange man entered a strange posture. He had one foot was on the ground while leaning toward the left, and he started breathing in a strange pattern. Suddenly, a gust of wind swirled around with him as the center, blowing away all of the nearby rocks, creating a clean, open area around them. Wang Lin's face turned red, and he involuntarily backed up 3 steps as he stared at the strange man. The strange man's heart was in even more of a shock than Wang Lin. He could clearly feel the strange yin spiritual energy entering his body from Wang Lin's fist. The cold energy spread out throughout his body with waves of extreme coldness. If it wasn't for all of the strange symbols on his body which helped him contain this cold energy, his whole body would have already been frozen solid. Looking at his right hand, which was completely frozen, he was horrified to find that all of the muscles and bones in his right arm had become ice. He looked at Wang Lin with his face pale and said another word Wang Lin could understand. G? Wang Lin didn't say anything. Because he didn't know what G meant, he shook his head. The strange man was stunned. He ripped off another talisman, causing white and green colored gas to appear. After the gas disappeared, his right arm returned to normal, but Wang Lin could see that his arm was trembling. He looked at Wang Lin and let out a snort. He blabbed for a while before finally leaving. Wang Lin looked at the strange man until he was gone, then sat down to recall the battle. The energy in the strange man's punch was very strange. It didn't seem to be spiritual energy, but some other type of energy. Strength? He remembered the word the strange man shouted before throwing out that punch. Ignoring the strange punch the strange man threw, Wang Lin was very happy with the power of his yin spiritual energy. He named this type of spiritual energy that could change the structure of things Jiyan spiritual energy. Ji? This was what the strange man said after seeing his power. Wang Lin muttered to himself, "It is about time to leave. Once I reach the 5th layer of the underworld ascension method, it will be time to leave. I must find more extreme earth yin locations, I must." Wang Lin knew that he must find extreme yin because in order to break through to higher layers of the underworld ascension method, he would need higher quality yin energy. Although the ruins had dense yin energy, Wang Lin knew that the yin energy here was only around rank 10 dense quality. It may be able to reach rank 1 extreme quality at most. It has to be said that among heaven, earth, mystery, and underworld yin energies, the difference between mystery and underworld wasn't big, but the difference between them and earth and heaven was enormous. Rank 1 good quality earth yin energy was the same as rank 1 extreme quality mystery or underworld yin energy. As for the heaven yin energy that one could only wish for just rank 1 of, ordinary rank was as good as rank 1 extreme quality mystery and underworld energy. While he was pondering, he lifted his head and saw that the strange man was returning. After the strange man came back, he gestured to Wang Lin for a while. The strange man pointed at the surroundings, sucked in a deep breath, then vigorously shook his head. Then, he pointed at Wang Lin, then at himself, and made a bunch of gestures. Wang Lin gradually began to understand what this strange person wanted. It seemed the strange man wanted Wang Lin to follow him. Curious, Wang Lin nodded. The strange man moved very fast. He was very familiar with the surroundings and avoided all of the dangerous pits in the swamp. The strange man even entered a fissure in the ground and went into the tunnels underground. After a while, Wang Lin was shocked that they had traveled past the vast swamp area so quickly. 2 days later, the two of them arrived at a deserted corner of the ruins. During these 2 days, the two of them had only stopped to rest once. After they arrived, Wang Lin noticed an intact tower nearby. At the top of that tower was a stone bead almost 2 meters wide. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. This stone bead was almost exactly the same as the one in the ruins. The strange man didn't stop and climb to the top of the tower. He formed a few seals and touched the stone bead. A ray of light shot out from the stone bead toward the center of the ruin. From a distance, the pillar of light seemed endless. After doing all of that, the strange man jumped down. He waved his hand toward Wang Lin, and the two of them left the place. Time passed. Wang Lin followed the strange man, going from one bead to the next. In most places, the towers had already collapsed, but the stone beads were all in perfect condition. One by one, the stone beads were started, and the lights all shot toward the center of the city. When the last stone bead, which was the first one Wang Lin saw, started, the entire city seemed to have changed. Along the way, Wang Lin secretly calculated that there were 8 of these stone beads. The strange man looked into the sky and revealed an anxious look. The two of them rushed toward the center of the city without any rest. At dusk on the 4th day, the two arrived outside the center of the city. The 8 pillars of light were gathered here. The strange man stopped and bowed. His eyes were filled with devotion as he let out song-like words. As his voice became more and more acute, the earth shook as a 100-meter-tall statue rose from the ground. The statue rose halfway up before stopping. The statue was that of a man with long hair. The man looked quaint, his eye intelligent, and his hand held a 100-meter-long spear as he looked into the distance. Around his body was a coiled dragon with its mouth open, as if it was going to attack. The scales on the dragon were so detailed that they almost looked real. The 8 rays of light gathered at the statue, and the eyes of the statue became brighter and brighter. Wang Lin felt like the illusion of this man with long hair was alive. After the statue appeared, the devotion in the strange man's eyes became even deeper. He waved at Wang Lin and urgently pointed at the mouth of the dragon. Wang Lin pondered a little. Without a word, he jumped up several times and arrived near the dragon's head. The moment he got up there, he felt a powerful yin energy coming from below his feet. Wang Lin immediately sat down and formed a seal, making a red light appear. The red light immediately split into 4 and flashed rapidly until all 4 exploded. Wang Lin was in shock. He knew that this meant that the energy in this place had reached the limit of underworld yin energy. It reached extreme quality. Surprised, he quickly started to cultivate and absorb the yin energy. However, this time, the suction range wasn't too large and was focused entirely in the few meters around him. From a distance, it looked like a red sphere had appeared and surrounded the dragon's head. Wang Lin sat there for 5 days. In these 5 days, the strange man waited and became more and more anxious each day. He looked into the sky as if something was going to be attracted by the statue. The 9 talismans on his body moved without any wind. Seerly, he was ready to take them off at any time. The QIC was finally opened on the 3rd day and reformed in the early morning of the 5th day. The 5th layer of the underworld ascension method was complete. One more step, then he could form his 2nd cold core. When that was complete, he wouldn't fear late-stage foundation establishment cultivators anymore. Even now, he no longer feared mid-stage foundation establishment cultivators. Next, he tried to raise the quality of his yin spiritual energy by mixing in the extreme quality yin energy. While he was controlling the fusion, he was also observing his own spiritual energy. He noticed that his spiritual energy turned darker and darker and went from blue to dark blue. He didn't know that his spiritual power was even closer to the G realm. At that moment, the world suddenly changed. The sky darkened and the clouds moved as if someone was pushing them with a large hand. Dark fog gathered until it formed the shape of a coffin. An illusionary figure slowly appeared on top of the coffin, its body quickly becoming more solid. A hoarse voice came from the sky. You mean to say that Master's nascent soul is hiding inside the statue? The strange man's expression changed greatly. Mid-month already, brothers. Do you have likes for the VIDE already? Don't hold back wishing for those likes. Chapter 928 5 Element Golden Corpse. Since you don't understand, then disappear with the void. The woman in the blue dress put down her left hand. The complex gaze in her eyes gradually disappeared. Wang Lin's pupils shrank as he felt the pressure descend upon him. Under this pressure, he found that the origin energy inside his body was actually obstructed. The black whirlwind roared around him, and the two black dragons inside charged out at the lotus flower leaf. The dragons roared and blasted out cold wind. However, the lotus leaf didn't pause, it moved faster. The crack under Wang Lin's feet became bigger and cold wind rushed out of it. At this moment, the two black dragons collided with the leaf. There was a loud bang as one of the black dragon trembled and collapsed into black gas that was pushed back. The other dragon blasted out cold air that did nothing to the leaf. The leaf absorbed it all and revealed a hint of green light. As this green light spread, the pressure became even stronger. Even the black whirlwind disintegrated under this pressure. What kind of treasure is this? Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Then he stretched open his arms and shouted, "Summon the rain!" This was the first time Wang Lin had used the second spell he learned from Celestial Emperor Bai Fan. As he said these words, the origin energy of the world seemed to be getting churned by a pair of large hands and quickly gathered. A thin layer of water mist appeared before Wang Lin's body. His hands stretched out, and it was as if new life had been injected into the black mist. It immediately formed a vortex around Wang Lin and rotated rapidly. The drops of rain continued to form while origin energy from the world gathered within the black gas. A sliver of celestial origin energy came out from Wang Lin's body to communicate with the world. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of drops of rain formed in the black vortex around Wang Lin. Each drop contained a great amount of power. There was a strand of celestial spiritual energy within this vortex, which made Wang Lin look like a celestial. His arms were stretched out as he floated among the stars. The black wind around him rotated like crazy as drops of rain formed and floated around him. The raindrops were like crystals. They looked very gorgeous from afar. Just at this instant, Wang Lin waved his hand. With him as the center, the vortex trembled and spun in reverse. There was a thunderous rumble as it rose into the air. It looked like a 1,000 feet vortex was rising up into the air to connect with the heavens. The rumbling continued as the vortex pulled Wang Lin up. One could only catch a glimpse of Wang Lin's figure. As the vortex rose, the 10,000 drops of rain rushed out. They whistled through the air as if the earth had become the sky. The rain was born from the earth, and then it went back up to the sky, and then it died at the end of the sky. There were hints of thunder intent in Wang Lin's eyes, but he suppressed it. There was no need to expose his true cultivation here. The vortex and 10,000 drops of rain directly pressed down on the lotus flower leaf. The vortex first closed in on the lotus flower leaf, making it tremble. Then the 10,000 raindrops fell on the leaf. The sound of the raindrops hitting the leaf echoed, and the leaf suddenly collapsed. The impact caused by the collapse of the leaf was scattered by the vortex and raindrops. The pressure on Wang Lin disappeared. Then his hand formed a seal and he pointed at the woman in the blue dress. The vortex and raindrops formed by Summon the Rain swept by Wang Lin and charged at the woman in the blue dress. Just at this moment, the Black Fiend Devil Saint, who was clearly losing against Blood God and the Blood Person, quickly escaped. In a flash, he charged directly at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he retreated without hesitation. Although he was attempting to kill this woman, he wasn't really trying to kill her. He just had to make it look like he Shu Mu was making effort during this battle. Besides, with his previous achievement, everything else could be skipped over. As he retreated, coldness flashed in the eyes of woman in the blue dress. Her right hand pointed at the 7-leaf lotus flower, causing an illusory lotus to appear and completely block Summon the Rain. She looked at the battlefield. The alliance was currently in an unfavorable situation. However, she didn't panic, as she knew this wasn't the real battle. This was merely the prelude. Raising her jade-like hand, she formed a seal, pointed at the void, and softly said, "Please help, Corpse Prison Realm." After she spoke, a giant 50-kilometer-wide formation silently appeared in the void before her. This formation was hanging upside down and was rotating rapidly. Blackish purple gas was pouring out of it, and a purple chain suddenly fell from inside the formation. There was an all-heaven cultivator below it that didn't dodge fast enough and was hit by the chain. His body immediately collapsed, and his origin soul was trapped by the chain. From a distance one could see that the cultivator's origin soul seemed to be stuck to the chain. No matter how much he struggled, he couldn't escape. Another chain came out from the formation and dangled there. One by one, the chains fell, and after only a few moments there were over 100 chains sweeping the area. Just at this moment, a muffled roar came from the formation. This sound was filled with the feeling of being torn apart. When you heard it, it was as if your origin soul was being torn apart. A person walked out from the formation. The moment the person walked out, the smell of rotting corpses filled the area. This person was 100 feet tall and completely purple. This wasn't a living creature but a corpse. This corpse had large amounts of chains wrapped around it. The chains that were dangling earlier were the chains that were wrapped around his corpse. This corpse wasn't formed naturally, but refined from countless remains with a spell. In the Alliance, it was referred to as refined corpse. This object was formed naturally by the corpse prison realm, with a corpse sect providing the corpse. Over the tens of thousands of years there were only 18 made. Each corpse had cultivation equal to a late-stage nirvana scryer cultivator. The first refined corpse that appeared shook the chains on its body and let out a roar. This roar could penetrate the body and directly affect the origin soul. As the refined corpse roared, it charged into a group of cultivators and waved its chains around. The chains became its most fierce treasures. As it swept across the area, it created a gust of wind. A large amount of cultivators were no match and were forced to retreat. At this moment, a second refined corpse walked out from the formation. While letting a roar, it charged into the battlefield. As the refined corpses walked out one by one, the situation on the battlefield began to reverse. This was especially true when the last 3 refined corpses walked out. They didn't emit a purple glow. 2 of them glowed silver and 1 of them glowed gold. The 2 silver refined corpses were a male and female. Although they had sluggish expressions, their bodies were the size of a normal person's body, and they were wearing silver shirts. There were still chains around them, but only 2. The moment they appeared, they gave off the pressure of early-stage Nirvana cleanser cultivators. The last refined corpse couldn't even be described as a corpse. He was middle-aged and wore a dragon robe. He was like a mortal emperor. There weren't any chains around him. He only had 5 yellow talismans around his head. There were bursts of lightning that formed a close connection between the talismans. The aura of the 5 elements was coming from his body. The moment Wang Lin saw that man, he immediately thought of the 5 elements and the first time he encountered Red Butterfly. 5 elements spirit body. Wang Lin retreated even faster. He knew that with his cultivation level, he couldn't play a big role in a big battle between 2 star systems. This was why he had acted with self-preservation as the goal from the beginning. If there was merit, he would take it. If there was none, then he would focus on staying alive. I don't know where senior brother Qing Shu is, but I believe he should be nearby. Wang Lin continued to retreat, but the woman in the blue dress had no intention of letting Wang Lin go. She pointed with her jade-like hand, and an ordinary refined corpse stared at Wang Lin and chased after him. Wang Lin's expression became gloomy. If he was facing a mid-stage Nirvana scryer with his current body and spells, he could win. However, when facing a late-stage Nirvana scryer, he would have to use all his abilities for a chance at victory, and there were a lot of variables. However, it would be unwise to use all his abilities in this great battle. Also, if he was injured, he would immediately be in a dangerous situation. Wang Lin's plan was to find a chance during the chaos and enter the Moongazer Serpent unnoticed. Then he would take the opportunity to steal the power inheritance of the child ancient god. As he retreated, the refined corpse chased after him. The refined corpse swung its chains around, forcing open a path to Wang Lin. There was a flash of coldness coming from Wang Lin's eyes as he moved closer to the Moongazer Serpent. Muffled roars came from the Moongazer Serpent. Wang Lin didn't believe that just these cultivators from the Alliance could trap the Moongazer Serpent. Once the Moongazer Serpent became angry, everything would collapse. This mere sealing formation couldn't seal the Moongazer Serpent. A moment later, Wang Lin approached the black shell that trapped the Moongazer Serpent. The Shengong family ancestor was leading cultivators to constantly attack the black shell. Wang Lin's approach didn't attract the attention of any of these people. The refined corpse continued to chase after Wang Lin and got closer and closer. It threw one of the chains around it after Wang Lin, and the sound of the chain whistling through the air entered Wang Lin's ears. Wang Lin's eyes had a cold glint. He was very calm as he quickly backed up and touched the black shell sealing the moongazer serpent. The moment he touched the shell, he released a sliver of his ancient god aura into it. Just at this instant, the moongazer serpent inside the shell noticed the ancient god aura by instinct and became crazy. This roar from the moongazer serpent was heaven-shaking. The anger of the moongazer serpent was like the finger of the ancient god. The more angry it was, the stronger the spell was. A thunderous rumble came from the shell, and countless cracks appeared as if an unimaginable force was coming from within the shell. In an instant, the black shell collapsed. The moment it collapsed, a rough ancient god finger poked out. Mid-month and it's been forgotten. Hoping for the like button for the video, tears start to flow. Is there still time? You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 929, Wang Lin's Thing. The moongazer serpent used its incomparable spell in the northern region for the first time. This spell was triggered by its anger and allowed the cultivators here to feel its unimaginable strength. If some people were underestimating the moongazer serpent before or didn't consider it enough of a threat, they threw all those ideas out of their minds when the seal collapsed. The only thing that remained was a shock from their souls. At this moment, a large amount of cracks appeared on the black shell around the moongazer serpent. Countless fragments were sent whistling in all directions. The countless black shell fragments spread out with powerful impact. Some of the cultivators didn't dodge fast enough and were hit by the fragments. They coughed out blood, and then their bodies collapsed. Not even their origin souls were able to escape. There were even several people that were hit by the edges of the fragments, and their bodies were immediately sliced in half. Blood mist filled the area, creating a shocking scene. All of this caused the surroundings to become silent for a moment, as if every single gaze was focused on this place. However, in this silence, a roar from ancient times came from within the black shell. Roar! This roar was infinitely close to the roar of an ancient god. It seemed to penetrate time itself, as if it had always been there. This roar was filled with endless force. The ancient god finger suddenly flew out. It was impossible to describe the might and spectacle of the ancient god finger. It could only be said that the world would collapse under that finger. No power could resist the power of this finger. Everything must perish under the power of that finger. The refined corpse pursing Wang Lin was dumbfounded. There was a brief moment of blankness in its mind, and it weighed consequences of facing the ancient god finger head-on. Boom! The moment the ancient god finger charged out, it landed on the refined corpse. As popping sounds echoed, the chains on the refined corpse all collapsed. Large amounts of black blood were pushed out from the back of its body due to this endless force. Its entire body seemed to have been pulled back, and its purple skin immediately began to dissipate. In the blink of an eye, it was as if it had been skinned by someone. Following that, all of its bones and flesh crumbled, and finally, the refined corpse exploded. Although this sequence of events sounds slow, it only took a few breaths of time. The ancient god finger didn't stop and mercilessly pressed forward. Wang Lin had already retreated a moment before. His eyes lit up, and as he looked, he felt as if there was an indomitable adult ancient god behind that finger. The adult ancient god's thick arm was pushing the finger forward in an endless wave of destruction. The moongazer serpent's giant body followed after the ancient god finger and rushed out with its countless tentacles spread out. Large amounts of mist spread out from its oval body, and its fierce eyes met Wang Lin's eyes. The moment their gazes met, Wang Lin felt something was wrong. This moongazer serpent's eyes were extremely clear, without any trace of confusion. Wang Lin had a feeling that when he looked at the moongazer serpent, it was looking back at him. The moongazer serpent broke free and gave the Alheaven cultivators a huge morale boost. This battle was full of twists and turns. Sometimes the Alliance held the upper hand and sometimes Alheaven had the advantage. At this moment, the moongazer serpent reappeared, and the pressure it gave off shook the stars. The ancient god finger didn't dissipate and continued to sweep forward at an extremely fast pace. All cultivators that were before it exploded and died before it even got close to them. Wang Lin had spent his life in slaughter, but the number of deaths that occurred during this war was far more than all the people he had killed. This was the first time Wang Lin had encountered a war like this. The battle between Planet Suzaku and the Forsaken Immortal clan was truly insignificant compared to this. The situation reversed. The ancient god finger whistled through space, and all the cultivators before it collapsed, not even able to slow it down. The ancient god finger swept toward Black Fiend Devil Saint. The expression of the Alliance's Black Fiend Devil Saint changed. As the ancient god finger closed in, he clenched his teeth and spat out a black mist while his hands formed a seal. The black mist immediately turned into a giant black crane. This black crane held a black leaf in its mouth. The moment it appeared, it dropped the leaf, and the leaf began to grow like crazy. In almost an instant, this leaf was more than 10,000 feet tall and spread to the sides, creating a barrier. The ancient god finger closed in and collided with the leaf. There were crackling sounds, and then the leaf collapsed into strands of black gas. Black Fiend Devil Saint's face turned pale and he coughed out blood and retreated. However, his right hand reached toward the void and a wood carving appeared in his grasp. This wood carving was extremely strange. It was a person with folded arms surrounded by plants. It was impossible to see the face, as it was covered by plants. The moment the wood carving was taken out, Black Fiend Devil Saint threw it without hesitation. A black light that could devour all light came from the carving. It was as if the carving had come to life, and the plants began to move. The plants charged directly off the wood carving. As the plants charged off, 5 1,000-foot-long black flowers appeared from the void. These 5 black flowers gave off a strange aura. One of the flowers charged toward the ancient god finger. The center of the flower opened up like a mouth and spat out an extremely cold energy. The remaining 4 flowers opened their mouths and spat out large amounts of black gas. At the same time, the eyes of the wood carving shined red, making it seem to truly come alive. It opened its arms as if it was about to embrace something. It then rushed into the black gas and directly clung onto the ancient god finger. Black lines came from its body and immediately spread across the ancient god finger. Wang Lin saw this scene from the distance and revealed a sneer. If the ancient god finger could be broken so easily, then the Alheaven cultivators wouldn't have spent so much effort to bring the Moongazer serpent here. This Moongazer serpent could be considered the most powerful weapon Alheaven had prepared for this war. Wang Lin's gaze swept by and landed on the giant wood in the distance. I doubt charging forward is the only thing that wood can do. After standing on it for so long, I felt like there was something else inside. Hundreds of thoughts flashed through his mind. The battle between the 2 star systems had endlessly broadened his horizons. All of this was very important to him. After all, his cultivation time was simply too short compared to these old masters, so he was less knowledgeable than them. This great battle was like a display of spells and magic treasures. Wang Lin had absorbed all this information, and also learned of the power of Nirvana Cleanser and Nirvana Shatterer cultivators. If this war didn't exist, it would have been very difficult for Wang Lin to learn this. At this moment, just as Black Fiend Devil Saint used a magic treasure to stop the ancient god finger, on the Alliance side, the remaining 10 refined corpses let out roars and charged. The 2 silver corpses moved faster than the rest. However, even with all of them combined, it still wasn't enough to compare to the finger of the ancient god. As the Moongazer serpent charged over, it let out another roar. Its roar was so powerful that it shook the entire space. Those whose cultivation was lacking had to evade, or they would be seriously injured. The roar of the Moongazer serpent was only a roar for others, but when it landed in Wang Lin's ears, it had a completely different meaning. Wang Lin's expression changed, and his hands moved without hesitation to place down countless restrictions before him. The ancient god furnace appeared around him, and he quickly retreated. The instant he retreated, the Moongazer serpent's roar caused the ancient god finger that Black Fiend Devil Saint and the refined corpses were dealing with to explode. Boom! It was impossible to explain the explosion of the ancient god finger. Everything within 5,000 kilometers of it seemed to have been directly torn open. Screams came from a large amount of cultivators as they were directly sucked into the crack and disappeared without a trace. Countless cultivators panicked and retreated in terror. They only hated themselves for being too slow. The Moongazer serpent was the only one who wasn't damaged at all. It charged forward, and his tentacles swept out to start a massacre. As for Black Fiend Devil Saint, who was at the center of the explosion, he coughed out large amounts of blood and was thrown back. He had never been in such a sorry state in his tens of thousands of years of cultivation. His body was seriously damaged and was on the verge of collapse. The current him was filled with shock. During his life of cultivation, he had never encountered such a powerful beast. After coughing out blood, he escaped frantically, as if he was out of his wits. As for the dozen refined corpses, aside from the silver corpses, the rest weren't able to resist the ancient Godfinger at all. They had burst into piles of flesh and blood, while being sucked into the void. Even the 2 silver corpses were knocked back, and the chains on their bodies collapsed as they coughed out black blood. The beautiful female corpse actually charged directly at Wang Lin. This kind of treasure is something that should belong to me. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he looked not only at the female corpse, but also at the half-broken wood carving. Mid-month, and the hope for likes on the video has slipped by 2 days already? Tears streaming. Is there any hope left? Chapter 930. Alliance Elder Group. Wang Lin was the first to become aware of this situation, so he was fully prepared. A moment before the ancient god finger exploded, he had already retreated and activated the ancient god furnace. As a result, he wasn't affected much. He looked at the moongazer serpent and then at the female corpse thrown at him. The moment he first saw the refined corpse, he had the idea of stealing it. When the ancient god finger exploded, he purposely adjusted his direction just for the silver corpse. Of the 2 silver corpses, the male corpse was too seriously damaged, so Wang Lin abandoned it. Although this female corpse was also damaged, it was obviously in much better condition than the male corpse. Since I am participating in a war, no one will say anything if I take a treasure, much less when the battlefield is this chaotic. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he took advantage of the chaos caused by the explosion of the ancient god finger to charge at the female corpse. However, Wang Lin wasn't the only person who had decided to fish in troubled waters. There were several more who took interest in the female corpse. There were all Heaven and Alliance cultivators among them. 7 different people charged at the female corpse from different directions. Wang Lin wasn't the closest one, but he was the fastest. As he charged, coldness flashed in his eyes. He only needed a few breaths to reach the female corpse, but his eyes lit up and he calmly slowed down. The moment he slowed down, an all-heaven cultivator charged out, closed in on the female corpse, and reached out. At the same time, an Alliance cultivators also stepped out but didn't take the female corpse. Instead, he opened his mouth and spat out a ray of sword energy directly at the all-heaven cultivator. The 2 of them began a battle at close range. It sounds like a lot, but it all happened very quickly, and as the 2 battled, another cultivator took advantage of this to close in. He grabbed the woman's arm and was about to leave. However, just at this moment, this cultivator suddenly turned around and panic filled his eyes. He screamed as his body shrank, until it was a pool of blood. This shocking change shocked the 2 cultivators that were battling. They looked at the female corpse and no longer dared to grab it. After a moment of hesitation, 3 people, including Wang Lin, sped up and charged ahead. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and the ancient god furnace appeared around him. In an instant, he switched places with one of the all-heaven cultivator that had charged ahead. That all-heaven cultivator was startled when he felt a powerful force pulling him. When he regained his vision, he found he had switched places with Wang Lin. He knew Wang Lin's identity, so after letting out a wry smile, he gave up on this treasure and charged for the next one. After using the spell, Wang Lin closed in on the female corpse. The 2 cultivators who were closest to the female corpse saw everyone else closing in. They clenched their teeth and grabbed the female corpse almost at the exact same moment. However, just at this moment, the 2 of them screamed and their bodies rapidly withered until they became pools of blood that were absorbed by the female corpse. The blood condensed into a speck of red light between her eyebrows. One of the Alliance cultivators closed in. He wore a python robe and his right hand reached out as he laughed. Although it looked like he was reaching for the woman, in truth, his hand contained a spell, and it looked more like he was going to attack her. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He arrived almost at the same time as this Alliance cultivator. His 2 fingers formed a sword, and he thrusted them out as he shouted, "Move aside!" The Alliance cultivator chuckled. Not only did he not stop, He moved even faster and whispered, "So even Thunder Celestial Shumu covets this female corpse's beauty." There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. Just as the Alliance cultivator closed in on the female corpse, Wang Lin pointed with his right hand and softly said, "Stop!" The Alliance cultivator trembled. It was as if he had been surrounded by countless invisible threads and became motionless. Wang Lin didn't pause at all. In a flash, he reached for the female corpse. Wang Lin's reach was very clever. He didn't try to grab her from the start, the moment his hand got close. His origin energy, along with the ancient god power and the yin and yang fishes, were imprinted between her eyebrows. There was a bang and her body trembled. The red light that formed after absorbing several cultivators suddenly dissipated. Then Wang Lin didn't stop. He directly grabbed the female corpse and passed by the Alliance cultivator. When he passed by, he kicked the Alliance cultivator in the chest without any hesitation. There was a flash of white light, and the cultivator was pushed back. His face turned pale and he coughed out a large mouthful of blood, but he didn't die. Instead, he looked viciously at Wang Lin and retreated while covering his chest. Holding the female corpse, Wang Lin looked down at it. The female corpse was surrounded by a red light that was slowly gathering toward her face. The reason Wang Lin slowed down was because he noticed something was wrong. What happened after was just as he expected. Several cultivators died. If the female corpse was only this strange, Wang Lin would have given it up. After all, this was a war, and self-preservation still came first. However, after the female corpse absorbed 3 cultivators' blood essence, there were some changes. This was what made him continue to fight for it. As he backed up, his left hand formed a seal, and he placed countless restrictions on the female corpse along with a mouthful of essence origin energy. After putting her inside his bag, he charged off into the collapsing space. The collapse had formed a giant vortex that formed a powerful suction that wanted to devour everything. Only the moongazer serpent could ignore this suction as he slaughtered like crazy. At this moment, several old monsters in the Alliance surrounded the moongazer serpent to prevent it from advancing. Even that cloud dragon demon saint closed in on the moongazer serpent. However, Blood God and company also circled the moongazer and battled the Alliance cultivators. The blood people that had appeared one by one also launched an overwhelming offensive against the Alliance. Waves of rumbles echoed along with the roar of the moongazer serpent. The fight between Master Flamespark and Wudo Chan was shaking the world. The rumbles inside the black mist caused by their fighting was extremely intense. The fluctuations that would occasionally come from their clashes was something even Blood God and company had to avoid. In the distance, the woman in the blue dress had no panic on her face as she observed all of this. Beside her, the golden corpse quietly stood there with a cold expression. The 5 yellow talismans slowly rotated around its head. Lightning moved between the talismans, constantly keeping it sealed. The woman in the blue dress raised her right hand and softly said, "I invite Xuan Palace's big elder, esteemed Xuan Bao." A laugh echoed across the stars. There wasn't much cultivation in this laugh, but all the treasures trembled for a moment as if they were about to leave their masters. The escaping black fiend devil saint let out a sigh of relief. Not only him, even Cloud Dragon Demon Saint relaxed. He simply gave up fighting and quickly retreated. The two of them knew very well that the so-called 4 saints wasn't just them. Among them, only Xianxia was a real saint. The Alliance's 4 saints were divided into Moon, Cloud, Xian, and Yao. Xianxia was the Xian saint. Each of them had 3 subordinates, so no matter how you combined it, it would form 4 saints. In truth, for this battle, the Cultivation Alliance had only dispatched the Xian saint and his 3 subordinates. Esteemed Xuan Bao had a very high status in the Xuan Palace. What really made people in the Alliance respect and fear him was that he was one of the Alliance elders who could decide everything inside the Alliance. This was his more prominent identity. Aside from the people inside the Alliance elder group, no one else knew exactly how many were within this group. However, each of them was extremely powerful and could reverse the heavens. The reason All Seer was respected, and the Cultivation Alliance had even sent someone to bear gifts during his birthday, was because he was a member of this mysterious elder group. However, there were some matters that caused his status to fall, but nevertheless he was still a member. If it wasn't for the fact that All Seer was Loki, people like Ling Tianhu wouldn't be able to exist at all. As long as he wished it, he could make them all disappear in an instant. However, after a certain incident, He became even more low-key and rarely participated in any elder meetings. He shut himself out. It has to be said that not even Xianxia or Wudo Chan, who was battling Master Flamespark,